I had a ridiculous breakfast today, so.
I just ate for the first time.
And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, June 14th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Sleeper. 12-game slate for today. Hope you don't have to roster Max Scherzer today because it didn't work well yesterday. Hit the like button so that I'll feel a little bit better because yesterday stunk. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are below our bodies. Adam, what's going on?
How's it going? Decent day for me yesterday. How'd you do?
I got body bagged. It probably wouldn't have been so bad if I didn't have 90% Scherzer because the Cubs ended up getting there. Although the home run that they hit in the ninth or bottom eight or whatever, whenever it was, their last set of at-bats was a pinch hit. Yeah. I looked at it and I was like, okay, like I knew I had one Cubs lineup that didn't have Scherzer in it. And I was like, okay, like if that's in it, like that probably jumped pretty high.
Yep.
And I saw it and I was just like, I don't remember that name. And I saw that he pinch hit for Hap and I was like, cool.
Yeah, that was my, I guess most promising main slate lineup was Rutschman, Henderson, and I think like O'Hearn, and then 5-man Cubs with Kirby and somebody that wasn't Scherzer. So like when I saw the Cubs had 11 runs, I was like, oh, maybe that team actually climbed a bit, but it did. I mean, it did okay, but nothing.
I got it to 91st, and it had Hap, so I was like, not like I could just give that home run to Hap, but obviously that would have been cool. But that had Hunter Brown and Ty on it, but that was all. That was the only thing that I had, and lucky enough to get that to where it is when you have 90% of your lineups dead in the first 20 minutes.
You got to play the night slates, man. Especially with how early the main slate ended yesterday.
Normally I would, but we got people in town, so I can get back into something like that starting tomorrow. Yeah, it was just, my aunt's in town, Yankees fan. My dad's a Yankees fan. I was like, oh, we'll put the Yankees game on for you guys. I was like, okay, Scherzer's got one strikeout. He gave up a homer, but like all told, we can build on this. And it was immediately like single home run, single, double, something else. And then they yanked him. It's like, oh, okay, great. Meanwhile, they're happy. I was like, I hate both of you.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'm getting texts in like the third inning of the Orioles game from my mom. Like every starter for the Orioles already has a hit. Like they've already hit like 3 home runs. I'm like, cool, stop. I'm not happy about this.
Yeah, I want them to win in the end, but like, I don't need the play-by-play about how I'm not succeeding. Well, we're going to lead off with your Orioles. You ready to do this?
Yep.
Mike K, that's a good point. If I rostered Scherzer today, I'd have 2 more points than yesterday. That's true. I'd rather have Scherzer start today than yesterday's. All righty. Baltimore Orioles taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Kyle Bradish on the hill for the O's. Jose Barrios going for the Blue Jays. No ownership coming into either guy. Does this seem like a pitching spot to you? I feel like Bradish is probably a slightly better option, but I don't think that I want either one.
That's how I see it as well. Bradish, I think there's a few pitchers on this slate that I think are pretty clearly underpriced at the bottom, but also not really going to be that useful because you have 12 games. You're going to have plenty of cheap hitting, and you do have plenty of good pitching at the top. So it doesn't strike me as a slate where I'm going to be looking to pay down that much. But Bradish is certainly one of those guys that, from a talent standpoint, just isn't a $6,200 pitcher. The guy has about a 22% strikeout percentage this year, xFIP just shy of 4. Like he's solid. He's not a close to minimum salary pitcher, but you're not really going to need the price all that much, the savings all that much on this slate. And it is a very tough matchup against Toronto. Difficult team to strike out, a lot of dangerous hitters there. So I think I probably get to him more than Barrios simply because he's so cheap, but not going out of my way to do so. And then for Barrios, he's another one. Like he's a good pitcher. He's got about a 4 xFIP this year, striking out 22.5% of hitters. He does concern me here a bit, not to the extent that Bassett did yesterday, but you do still have those splits with Barrios where he does give up power to lefties. And, you saw it more so last year, but this year still just shy of a 200 expected ISO to lefties. You're not getting a salary discount on him. There's a lot of better pitchers that aren't that much more expensive. And he's just getting a left-handed lineup essentially in one of the best parks for left-handed power. It's even more lefty heavy than yesterday. Josh Lester's in the lineup instead of Mateo. So the only 2 right-handed hitters in this lineup for the Orioles are Hayes and Urias, who's batting 9th. So 7 lefties in the top 8. I'm not saying that Barrios gets lit up. He's good enough that he can still have success. But 354 expected WOBA to lefties, 195 expected ISO in this park. Not really something I'm seeking out.
Are you seeking out the bats here? We have the Blue Jays 5th in ownership. They're 5th in our top stack tool. We have the Orioles 10th in ownership, 15th in top stack. Yesterday was sort of the same situation. You preferred the Orioles in that regard. I know you're going to prefer the Orioles once again just because of your hat, but do you see it differently today?
No, it's pretty much the same as yesterday. I assume I will play more Toronto than Baltimore. I talked about it with Neil this morning because I just don't adjust stuff manually.
Sure.
I personally would rather be getting to Baltimore. I think in the long run, though, I'm better off, and everybody typically is better off just relying on the data that they use and, not picking random spots without a very, very good reason to change things. So I expect to get to more Toronto today. I think, like, if I were hand building, if this were 2015, 2016, I would be playing the Orioles. I think it's a good spot for them for the same exact reasons as yesterday. Again, not that Barrios is as bad against lefties as Bassett, but you're talking about one team that in Toronto that is full of right-handed power in a park that is one of the worst parks for right-handed power. And then you're talking about a team that's full of left-handed power in a park that is great for left-handed power. Basically the same implied run total for both sides. I prefer the Orioles side, but projections and everything else prefer the Toronto side. So I'll be on the Blue Jays again, I assume, and the Orioles will probably go off again, making me sound smart and lose money.
I just slightly prefer the Blue Jays side. I have a couple Blue Jays 5-mans. I don't really have a lean to either side. I actually think in the grand scheme of things, I think the Blue Jays are probably a little bit over-owned. The Orioles aren't really pulling any ownership outside of Gunnar Henderson, and he should be pulling ownership. So
Henderson, I think, is clearly the best play in this game.
Yeah, I would imagine. Let me look and see where I had him come out of optimal rates, but I would be absolutely shocked if he's not tops of the list. So that's going to be Blue Jays and Orioles. Yeah, I had him optimal 7% of the time, a full percentage point ahead of Dalton Varsho.
Yeah, so 19% ownership on DraftKings coming into Henderson at 3,700.
Yeah, looks good. Looks good for sure. Rank the game.
With what I'm playing or what I think I should be playing.
Go with your gut.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Orioles, Blue Jays, Bradish, Barrios. The difference in pitching just being the pricing. The data says Toronto, Baltimore, Bradish, Barrios, but yeah, I mean, I think the offenses are similar. The tiebreaker to me is just simply that this park is built for this Orioles lineup, and it is pretty actively built to screw the Toronto lineup.
JB sent in a message. He said, "Hey, Josh, did you see they did the gambling thing in North Carolina? I'm in Durham. Governor Roy Cooper signed legislation legalizing mobile sports betting in the state of North Carolina. Could be as soon as January 8th, but they have a full year from this point." I found this sentence to be very interesting. Sports wagers will be authorized on professional sports, college sports, electronic sports, amateur sports, or any other event approved by the commission. Youth sports, such as children's rec leagues or school sports, are not included in the approved list of events. Could that have even been on the table? Could I just be gambling on like 8-year-olds and like AAU games and shit? Like, what are we talking about? Children's rec leagues? I could just show up at the park and take action? Like, what are we doing here? We had to write that down? Oh, I got a 500 on a team in the flag football league at the beach. It's like, right. What?
KJ said, poor Carolina people, January is not quick enough. Football starts in September. When Maryland passed their stuff, they said they were going to launch by whatever football season it was. And I think we finally got it 2 football seasons later.
Yeah, it could be, no later than a year from this point forward. But I mean, I don't want to bet on football anyway. So cool. The only thing that I would want to do quickly would be to pick up like early NBA futures and stuff. But
right.
I mean, it's not like I want any. I'm not going to. I'll be relying very heavily on Odds Shopper and BetPro for football because that's not my wheelhouse. I mean, Josh Gillum. Yeah, I know that those like little league games and stuff exist, but that's at some like real janky books, and I don't know. That's the type of places that Ben puts money down. I know that he's been deep in the little league streets from time to time.
I can't remember. I was I was at a bar near me with a poker friend, and I think he got them to put he was betting on some random site, and he got them to put like I think like Mexican women's basketball on or something, or just something insane. We're just sitting there like betting the bar tab on it and yelling at the TV, and nobody in this bar gives a shit about the game other than us.
All right. Mets and Yankees, the thorn in my side from yesterday. 3.8 run implied total for the Mets, 3.7 for the Yanks. Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole going here. 8% ownership coming into Cole at 11K. 17% ownership coming into Verlander at 8K. I mean, to me, it's kind of obvious which guy you want to get to here. I'm assuming you're with me. How much Verlander do you want?
So I think it's interesting because I do think Verlander is the best sub 9K play.
Yeah.
And that's reflected in the ownership, 19.5% ownership coming in, 10% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. I think he's going over-owned compared to some other pitchers priced around him. It's kind of similar to what I thought about Scherzer yesterday. And I did end up playing a lot of Scherzer. But, I said looking at it, it was like, I get that Scherzer projects as the best option here, but why is he getting 2 to 3x the ownership of, other good pitchers? That's kind of how I see it here. Like Verlander at 8K, there are things to like here. So he hasn't been very good this year. That is obviously true. 19.9% strikeout percentage, 4.58 xFIP. But there's some chance he just is terrible and, not in baseball much longer. But chances are his strikeout percentage moves to like the mid-20s. Not that long ago, he was striking out 30+% of hitters. Most projection models still have him in the mid-20s. He's had some tough strikeout matchups this season. I pulled it up on the show this morning, and now just going off the top of my head, I think he's faced like the Rockies in Colorado. He's faced Atlanta. He's faced Toronto. He's faced Cleveland. He's faced Tampa Bay. Like you have some matchups there that are going to make your strikeout numbers a little bit misleading. So I think it's still likely that you see an uptick in strikeout stuff, not to the point where he was at, but still to where it's, above average stuff, and the exit probably comes down. And right now he's just priced for what he has done this year, which is pitch pretty much like an $8,000 pitcher. And you have a weak Yankees lineup. Still no Aaron Judge. Their active roster this year has a 90 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. So I think Verlander is a good play. My only real question, just like it was yesterday with Scherzer, is why is Verlander 19% when like Andrew Heaney is only 3 or Michael Wacha is only 3? I think he's the best option there, but it's not by that big of a gap.
Well, I obviously use Steamer, so it's by an even bigger gap than you think it is. He's lethal in this projection model. I have him twice as likely to be a top pitcher, 3 times as likely to be a top value option. I'm 2x plus the field in terms of exposure.
Even those numbers you just said, he's getting 6 times the ownership of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have him 22% top pitcher, 24% top value. I think he should be getting exactly what he's getting against those. I got him projected for 20.5.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is like I think he's the best pitcher of that group. But if you need to save ownership in a lineup, you can. There's guys to get to. Yeah. And also, and I mean, the difference, the thing you have to keep in mind whenever you're talking about, ownership gaps like this is you're not even attempting to build the optimal lineup in baseball tournaments because it's a fool's errand. You're not going to do it. You're just gonna make really bad lineups trying. So optimally, if you have, call it 25% aggregate ownership going to Verlander, Wacha, and Heaney, it probably breaks down closer to like 14 to 15% Verlander, like 6%, 5 to 6% on the other guys. But from a functional standpoint, you're still in most of your DFS lineups in that range, just going to play Verlander.
Yep. What about Cole? Most expensive guy on the slate. Seems really difficult to get to, but 30% ownership to Kershaw, 25 to Valdez, 35 to Castillo. We'll talk about Glass now later, who's in sort of like a different price tier. But at the same time, scare Cole.
I'll say Cole is sort of the inverse of Verlander. Like Cole is the expensive version of Heaney and Wacha that we just talked about, where if you're playing, I don't know. So let's say, Boston's getting a ton of ownership today and Cincy's popular, right? So let's say you're running like a 5-3 Boston Cincy stack and you just have a bunch of ownership coming in there. And it's like, all right, well, I don't want to go to two 30% owned pitchers. Garrett Cole at least gives you that ceiling, but it's real tough to pay $11K for him in a tough strikeout matchup against the Mets. His stuff hasn't been as good this year either. And again, it's probably going to bounce back, but he's been good. He's striking out 26% of hitters, xFIP just shy of 4, but that's not, he hasn't been an 11K pitcher this year overall. It's not a great matchup. And the thing you run into with him is it's not quite apples and apples even to Heaney and Waka, where like the only pitcher in that range getting ownership is Verlander. For Cole, you need him to beat Castillo in a good spot. You need him to beat Valdez in a good spot. You need him to beat Kershaw in a good spot. You need him to beat Glasnow in a good spot. Then you have all the other pitchers on the slate that potentially could be good. It's so tough to actually get to him, I think.
Yeah, I only got to 1% of Cole, but 37 of Verlander. So if anybody's curious of what's going to happen tonight, Cole's spinning the gem against the Mets.
Right.
We can't go to bats here, right?
I don't see it. I mean, I didn't see it yesterday either, really, and I think there were like 13 runs scored in the game, but
there were certainly 5 scored in one inning.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it's just one where I can't really make a case for it outside of like there's some good hitters in this game that are not going to be popular, but there's enough bad pitching on this slate, enough good offenses that I have a hard time getting to this one.
Rank the game.
Verlander. Cole, Mets, Yankee, Verlander, Cole, Yankees, Mets, I guess.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I would rather be on the Yankees side from a bats perspective than the Mets side, even though the Yankees bats are worse than the Mets bats today. But yet on the opposite side of that, Verlander ownership, I guess.
Arcathelza said Cole dropping a gem tonight for sure. Now, it might not even matter, though. That's the thing. Like, Cole can do whatever the hell he wants as long as it's not like a complete game shutout. If Cole goes, like, if you told me right now Garrett Cole scores 28 DraftKings points, obviously I'm going to play some because, like, that's a really good score. But it's not like you would just even be jamming him in because there's still a pretty good chance that you're getting that matched by somebody cheaper than him.
I'd be really interested to see what that looks like if you hard coded him for 28 in Sims.
I think you would certainly be over the field and you'd be playing a good amount, but it's not like you would just be like lock buttoning him.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. It's something I'd like to see.
And I mean, like 28 might be extreme. Call it 25, 26. Like,
yeah, 28 might just be like, you got to take it.
I said 28 because it felt like the line probably. Where like if he goes 30, I think you're just taking it. But my point is that like he can have a very good game and still just be absolutely irrelevant.
Boston Red Sox, Colorado Rockies. I assume the Rockies are 10-run favorites in this one because they just keep being better than every time I look. The Rockies are winning, and whatever dickhead pitcher they're starting is throwing a gem.
Colorado Oakland World Series incoming.
Here it comes. 5.8 run implied total for the Sox, 4-1 for the Rockies. Garrett Whitlock going for the Red Sox. Austin Gomber going for the Rockies. I have nothing of Austin Gomber, thank God. 18% ownership coming into Whitlock. He is the preferred paydown option for today at 6,700. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's going up a little bit since this morning, but I think it's fine. He stands out like in that price range. We have him at 14%, but either way, 6,700. Like if you're going to that price range, I think he's the first one you go to. You look at the top stacks tool or top pitchers tool rather. Every pitcher ahead of him in top pitcher percentage is at least $8,000. So yeah, I think that's where you go. You know, Colorado overall this year against right-handed pitching, 91 WRC plus, 24% strikeout percentage. That's including right-handed pitching in cores. Like this team is very bad. Whitlock isn't a bad pitcher either, especially at this price tag. Just shy of a 20% strikeout percentage this year, doesn't walk a lot of guys, 4.09 xFIP. He's perfectly fine, and he's in a really good spot. So if you are going to that mid-range, I think he's a good play.
I don't have much, just 3% as of right now. I just updated the ownership numbers and stuff we had. I had the previous run in there, but if I needed to pay down, I would. I'm not really going any lower than Justin Verlander, so that's sort of my line in terms of salary. Let's talk bats. I'm sure this will go poorly, but the Boston Red Sox really number one top stack, number one top value, number one ownership, number one stack score. I'm actually a little bit lighter on them from a top stacks perspective, but I'm still over the field here. Let's play some chalk.
Yeah, and so here's the thing with Boston, too, that makes it tough to get away today. Not only is Gomber really bad, but they're running out this lineup that is actually really cheap. So it does go twofold. It does concern me a little bit. Rafael Devers is not starting this game. Yoshida is not starting this game. They have pinch hitters ready to go later on if they want them. So Rob Refsnyder leading off at 2,600. Good point per dollar value. No guarantee this guy's in at the end of the game. Turner should be fine. Verdugo should be fine. Duvall should be fine. Arroyo should be fine. Kike may or may not be fine. Good price tag, hitting sixth, like the power. Decent chance if this game's close, he's getting pinch hit for. But again, there's that caveat too. If Boston just blows this open, like you're hoping they do, if you stack them, they're not pinch hitting with Devers up by 8 in like the 5th inning or something.
Right.
So, it's still, I'm still going to play these guys. There is that risk that you see Devers and Yoshida. You're going to be, sweating the game. And it's going to be like, oh, I have, Refsnyder. I have a bunch of Refsnyder. He's coming up with the bases loaded. And then it's like, oh shit, that's not Rafael Devers. So like there is that potential problem, but I still think they look good here. And some of that's made up for too by the fact that they're cheap. So we talked about the upside where let's say they just hang a bunch of runs on Gomber right out of the gate and Boston doesn't need the pinch hit later in the game. You have some really good lineups built around them because Refsnyder's 2,600. Arroyo's batting 5th at 3,100. Kike's 32. So still a good stack. Just keep in mind there's some pinch hit risk. Adam Duvall, one of, I think, the best hitting plays on the slate.
They're gonna smash tonight, given what I've got going on for the rest of my night. Like
I haven't run mine yet, so
I have 43 5-man Red Sox stacks right now, and I know where that's gonna end up.
Wait, I thought you said they were gonna smash.
Yeah, I'm not playing the slate. I'm going out to dinner.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I definitely need to be getting the Red Sox now.
Yeah, because I've been playing them every day for like a week now, and I feel like they haven't scored a run in a week. So, yeah, we know exactly how this one's shaking out. Do you like anything on the Colorado side? They're not pulling a ton of ownership, but they are 11th, which is basically middle of the pack today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. They're cheap. They're still in a good hitter's park. It's not Coors Field, but it's still a good hitter's park. You have Nolan Jones leading off at 3,900 with multi-position eligibility. McMahon's hitting 3rd. Tovar is a cheap shortstop hitting 2nd. There is some value to be had there. Again, it's not a top stack for me, but 181 expected ISO allowed to righties this year for Whitlock. 201 the lefties. He has been home run prone. He has had power issues. So I don't mind taking some shots at, cheap bats in Colorado's lineup. 4-run implied total. Not a priority for me, but as far as low owned bats, I think they look okay.
I'm way lower on the Rockies than we are, like I normally am. Steamer aggregate WOBA for the Rockies today, 299. Woof.
That seems low.
270
that bad.
274 for Brenton Doyle, 288 for Austin Wynns, 288 for Tovar in the 2 spot, not helping. Diaz and Grichuk are both right at the 300 mark. Montero basically is as well. Harold Castro, 293. Not good. Not good. I'd say rank the game, but I'm quite confident we know the first spot.
And for what it's worth, I think Steamer is probably lower on all of these guys than everybody else.
Should they be?
I mean, so like I just pulled up Tovar's page. Zips rest of season 318, the bat 317, the bat X 323, Steamer 306.
I'll bet you they're park neutral. And I bet they're being shown differently.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Wouldn't surprise me. At least.
I mean, also WRC plus Steamers at the bottom.
Yeah. Let's see. Just out of curiosity, Colorado WOBA on the season 314. I think 300 seems about right for a road game for them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I don't makes a difference.
We're kind of splitting hairs. I don't think they're good. I don't totally hate the lineup though.
Right. I mean, I had them come out of my top stack till 19th, so I'm on a different level than everybody else too, which shouldn't be all that surprising.
As far as ranking it, Boston, Whitlock, Colorado, Gomber.
Yeah, that's pretty easy to do. All righty, scheduled for the rest of the day. It's not just MLB Live Before Lock, which is coming up next, taking you from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We also have PGA Live Before Lock coming up at 8 p.m. Got a big one. U.S. Open kicking off tomorrow. I'm winning a milli on Sunday. It's going to be a good time. I know some of the guys that I'm already pretty heavy on So seems like it's going to be a really frustrating Thursday, Friday for me because I think Ricky Fowler is my most exposed golfer. And that seems like a roller coaster ride, or at least one of those roller coasters that like go off the tracks.
Yeah, the roller coaster tycoon where you could just set it up to like go launching through the neighborhood.
Oh man, what a great game. What a great game. I lost so many hours to that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, PGA live before lock because we've got the US Open coming up. I'm going to talk a little bit about PGA on our next read. We might have something that we should really dig into. What I'm going to talk to you about right now is BetPro. Adam, well-versed in BetPro, puts out a BetPro video Monday through Friday, giving you all of the goods for our BetPro package, which is based on our models that we have built from the DFS side, built by Alex Baker, by Sean Zahn, by Steve Buzzard. You guys know him as the Colt. We've had these models for years, anchoring everything that we do on the DFS side. They've been ported over to sports betting now. You're getting win rates on props. You're getting expected value on props. You're getting all of this information boiled down into one table, very easy to sort through. You're not missing any information. It's just right there in front of your face. You're trying to get some bets down. Our Bet Pro package is the best way to do it. $24.95 for the first 30 days if you click the link in the description. Normally, it's $29.95 a week, $100 a month. You can get it for that $25 price for the first 30 days. Positive ROI across the lifetime of BetPro. It's pretty good for you, 2.2%, in fact. You're getting down a lot of action. That starts to build up quite a bit. We also have injury designations. I want it to be just fully transparent for you guys because sometimes you'll see some lines and it'll be like, oh, well, that looks a little weird. Well, if there's a guy that's questionable for the day, that'll make some little tweaks into the data where, lines might move up or down. We'll notate that for you. So if anything is standing out like that, you'll be able to see it very quickly. We don't want you to just immediately open it up and grab the first thing you see because that might just have something to do with an injury. Adam's putting out an MLB BetPro video Monday through Friday. Make sure you're checking that out on our Odd Shopper channel and make sure you're signing up for it using the link in the description. Game 4, Rangers and Angels. 4.9 run implied total for the Rangers, 4.3 for the Angels. Andrew Heaney and Reed Detmers. 3% ownership coming into Heaney at 8,400, 6% coming into Detmers at 7K. Sort of like the correct ownership to both of these guys, but if I had like 15 to 20 of either one of them, I'd be like, okay, we're rolling with it today.
Yeah, I think you could argue that they're slightly under-owned, more so Heaney than Detmers, but also there's just guys in their price ranges that are going to look a bit better. Detmers has been very good in terms of strikeout stuff this year, 27% K percentage, 3.88 xFIP. There's two things working against him. One, he's gone 6 or more innings in one start this season, and I think at least in large part, that's by design. Also, getting in a small sample, getting lit up his third time through the order. So I think the Angels are kind of the mindset like, yeah, okay, he got us 5. Now get him the hell out. But then also, brutal matchup here with Texas, one of the best offenses in baseball. So, you think about the strikeout percentage, you think about his overall ability as a pitcher. He's better than $7,000, but work definitely cut out for him here. And then on the other side for Heaney, kind of the same thing. Still a good strikeout pitcher, not the same strikeout stuff he had when he was with the Dodgers, but still striking out 24.5% of hitters this year, still also giving up home runs as he has forever. So you're getting an Angels team that, yeah, there are some strikeouts he can pick up, but there's a lot of power in this lineup. Their projected lineup has 8 right-handed hitters, plus Shohei Ohtani is the only lefty. Ward, Trout, Rendon, Drury, Renfroe from the right side. All of those guys can do damage, particularly Trout, Ward, Renfroe. But just, a dangerous spot for him, but he's also 8,400 and just getting a fraction of the ownership of Verlander. So, yeah, it's a dangerous spot for Heaney, but it's not like there's no, yeah, but statements about Justin Verlander. There's plenty. So we kind of talked about it before. I think he's going under-owned. I don't know how much that actually gets him into my lineups in practice, though.
Yeah, I don't have either him or Detmers here, but they're certainly in salary ranges where, like, if you wanted to offload some of that Garrett Whitlock for Reed Detmers, I get it. Similar story for Heaney and Verlander. I just don't have it, but I wouldn't talk anybody out of it in an individual build. Like if you built the Tyler Glasnow, Justin Verlander lineup in a single entry and wanted to turn Verlander into Heaney, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like Tyler Glasnow plus Red Sox stack, And then you're like, okay, am I going to throw Verlander in here too? Or do I just switch to Heaney or Waka?
Yeah.
Like that's where those guys come in. They're good individual lineup plays. They're not guys that I would necessarily want to just say like, oh yeah, my stand tonight is Andrew Heaney against the Angels.
Angels are 7th in ownership right now. Rangers are 10th, but the Rangers do have the higher top stack odds. Just so happens the Angels are a little bit more cost effective to get to. Which side of this game do you prefer?
I prefer the Angels with the caveat that we don't have their lineup yet. Brandon Drury was suspended for a game and appealed it, so I don't know if he's going to be playing today. That could certainly weaken the lineup a bit. There's also, a chance that they just do something weird. But assuming we get like a normal lineup, I do prefer that side. Lower implied run total, but there's so much volatility going up against Heaney that I think when you compare these teams that have like 4 to 4.4 implied run totals, you just have a little bit more ceiling with a team like the Angels that does have power and is going up against the pitcher in Heaney, who, when he's making mistakes, he's making them in the heart of the plate and they're getting hit 420 feet. So I prefer the Angel side. I think the Ranger side is fine as well. A little bit weaker lineup than usual. No Nathaniel Lowe. That does get you some more value because you get Ezekiel Duran, shortstop, outfield eligible, hitting third at just 3,400. So that was one issue with the Rangers earlier in the day, was that they're like 6th in top stack percentage, but they're also really expensive. They're still expensive, but you do get a nice value piece in the middle of that order that you can mix in and, still have plenty of upside.
475 people in here, 66 likes. Hit that thumbs up, folks. Let's run that number up over 100. Rank this game.
Angels, Rangers, Heaney, Detmers.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
You could give me the pitchers first, and I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, it almost like it's like depends how you're defining it. Like if you wanted to do it in terms of who's the most underowned, it's probably Heaney, Detmers, and then the two offenses. But in terms of
because these two pitchers have massive strikeout ceilings.
Oh yeah,
today.
Yeah, and neither one's expensive. But in terms of like what I think I'm probably going to play, and even what I would like, even what like I would anticipate playing, like. Not like the Orioles where like, I think I'm going to play the Blue Jays, but I really want to play the Orioles. Like here, I think I probably get Angels, then Rangers, then Heaney, then Detmers.
All righty. 4.7 run implied total for the Cubs, 4.1 for the Pirates. Drew Smiley and Osvaldo Bido, who I don't believe is in the player pool. Should be easy to talk about him. 3% ownership coming into Smiley at 7,200. It's the way you want to save salary, or would you rather just have Detmers?
I think I'd rather have Detmers just because of the strikeout ability. But Smiley's another one where I don't think I'm going to get to him much. He's just sort of sitting there, 3% owned. If you wanted to go to that price range and not go to Whitlock at 15%, Smiley's certainly reasonable. I said it this morning with Neil. I think he is honestly one of the least interesting guys that we ever talk about. He is just like the definition of just a guy. Like 4.6 xFIP, low 20s strikeout percentage, gives up exactly 1 home run per 9 innings. He's not good. He's not bad. You're never really like excited to target against him. You're never scared to take bats against him. He's just there, and probably won't get too much of him today.
Will you be getting to the bats? 13th in ownership for the Cubs, 12th in ownership for the Pirates. We do see the Cubs get to 8th in top stack. I'm a little bit higher than that, but I don't think that either side is like amazing, but once again, just like yesterday, I'm getting the Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind getting to the Cubs here. You have this guy making his major league debut who probably isn't very good. One concern I do have is that pretty much every projection system is projecting this guy to be absolutely awful, like 16, 17, 18% strikeout rates. That's similar to the numbers he was putting up in the lower levels of the minor leagues. His last couple of seasons at AAA, he has struck out 23 to 24% of hitters. I'm always a little bit wary of that because with technology, how it is in baseball now, you have pitchers just completely remaking themselves during an offseason. And so when I see somebody go from striking out 16% of guys in A-ball to striking out 24% at AAA, you don't expect the projection systems to immediately just buy into AAA because any good projection system is using, more than the recent data. But I just get a little bit concerned, like this stands out as something unusual that happened in his development. What's different? Like, why did this happen? But with as bad as the projection systems have him, I still think it's unlikely he's any good. He's probably just like not as bad as projected. That can have a little bit of a trickle down where, the Cubs are being slightly over projected potentially, but they're also not getting much ownership. So not too much of a concern. Just worth keeping in mind that this guy might be better than he's getting credit for. Still pretty unlikely he's good though.
550 FIP in AAA last year, 464 to date this year. Neither one of those things are good numbers.
And also, the Pirates don't exactly develop pitchers.
No, they do not. They develop them for a different ball club.
Yeah, for different teams, right? Yeah, I mean, like if you had a guy like this, same numbers, same everything, suddenly pitching for Tampa Bay, it would be like, oh shit, they fixed something and this guy's going to be good. When he's pitching for the Pirates, the chances that the Pirates fixed something in this guy and turned him from a complete non-prospect into a good pitcher is slim and none.
Yeah, they transplanted a rocket launcher into his right shoulder. Coming out here like Henry Rowan Gardner. They're just breaking kids' arms, coming out here firing 110-mile-an-hour fastballs. Do you like the Pirates side at all against Smiley?
Not really. I think it's more just mini stacks, one-offs. You grab some McCutchen, you grab some Reynolds, Connor Joe, like Hayes. Any of these guys are fine, but sort of like I said before, I won't be upset if I get to the Pirates against him. Smiley's not good enough that I would do a double take or anything, but doesn't look like great hitting weather here. It's not a great matchup. There are some great matchups on the slate. I don't anticipate getting too much.
Do you think Connor Joe and Isaiah Joe are related?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, but I don't think so.
Maybe. Google them both. That could be. What are you thinking?
So Isaiah Joe is from Arkansas.
Okay. What about Connor Joe? Is he from Arkansas?
I have no idea. He is from California.
Gotcha. Interesting. Maybe it's like maybe they're cousins.
There's nothing on his Wikipedia page about it.
I mean, I'm not trying to judge how people are related and all, but if you click on the images tab when you search both of these people, you're going to be pretty confident that these guys are not related.
I mean, there's like I thought that might be where you're going with it, but like there's plenty of people that are and don't look like each other.
Yeah, but Connor Hawkwee Joe is that's his full name. I'm certainly saying that incorrectly, but it's KOK. So first part has to be that, I think. I don't WY could certainly. Jordan, how do you say WY? I know Adam doesn't know. You're the only other person left. So you don't know? Okay, just checking. His dad's name's Peter. Anyway, rank the game.
Cubs, Pirates, Smiley. Other guys not in the player pool.
To the Astros we go. Houston Astros, 4.7 run implied total. The Nats, 3. Framber Valdez on the hill for Houston. Josiah Gray going for Washington. 22% ownership coming into Valdez at 10,300. Third most expensive pitcher on today's slate. Not the best strikeout matchup for Framber Valdez, but we're talking about one of the, top 2 guys likely to go deep in a game against a Washington team that's not really that great of an offense. Even if it's not a great strikeout matchup, I think Valdez is set up to go very, very deep here.
Yeah, he looks good. One of the better pitchers in baseball, all things considered. 26.5% strikeout percentage, 2.86 xFIP is the best on the slate. 2.8 implied run total for the Nats is, I think, the lowest on the slate. If not, it's very close. So yeah, like you said, not a lot of strikeouts here, but he does work deep into games. He keeps the ball on the ground. His strikeout percentage has jumped this year as well. And he's not that expensive at 10.3. So yeah, certainly like getting the Valdez quite a bit.
Yeah, I have 31% right now. Happy to get him. He's just set up in a good spot. I certainly do not want a single share of Josiah Gray.
Yeah, it's tough to get there. One thing he has one thing different about him this year, he's not giving up the same amount of power that he has in the past, but it's come at the expense of him striking guys out. So still doesn't make him a great DFS option.
I think the Astros bats are a pretty good DFS option. I'm a little surprised that we had them 15th in top stack. I have them 4th. They are 6th in ownership. I like this spot because I think Josiah Gray stinks. What do you want to do here with Houston?
Middle of the road stack for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Gray is bad. 162 expected ISO to righties this year, 333 expected WOBA, 145 expected ISO to lefties. In the past, like you go back to last season, 270 expected ISO to lefties. 2021, 287 expected ISO to lefties. You've seen him improve that. The actual ISO allowed this year is below 100. Expected, like I said, 145, 322 expected WOBA. Seemingly has made some changes. He's throwing a cutter. His most frequently used pitch to left-handed hitters this year is his cutter. He didn't even throw a cutter last year. So I do buy into him just having different stuff, being a bit different pitcher right now. And then you also have, a watered down Astros lineup with no Yordan Alvarez in the middle of it. That's not to say that, Dubon, Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, pick another guy isn't a good stack. It's perfectly fine. 4.7 implied run total. But again, it's they're not quite on the same level as some of these other stacks for me.
Okay. Yeah, I have them. I have 18 5-man stacks of the Astros right now. So I am getting to them a little bit.
Hey, I forgot Jordan doesn't know how to use chopsticks. I found that out firsthand.
That is, oh my God. I'm so happy that I didn't find that out firsthand because I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't be able to stop talking about it at the table.
Yeah, I kept trying to bring it up, but he was on his phone the whole time, so he wasn't even really paying attention.
I just picture him having one in each hand, trying to pick it up in the middle and just take a bite of it or something.
I did talk a lot of shit and then dropped the first thing that I tried to eat also, so it didn't go that well.
When I first moved down here, I had no ability. I had never used them before, so it took me a while to get used to it.
So somebody taught me how to use them when I went to Japan, and that was my first time.
Yeah, first time in Japan, eh?
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. It's a good spot. We've got vending machines where you can get
cigarettes and
dirty underwear. What did you say?
Cigarettes and beer.
See, I went with dirty underwear.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's not even a joke. That's just a thing that really exists.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sure you do. No? I would have assumed you knew. Wild thing. Can you imagine just seeing that on in a vending machine in the United States? Craziness. Yeah, vending machine capital of the world. I mean, they've got wild vending machines in Japan. You can get a full bowl of soup out of one. You never know what's going to come out of it. Some of it's a grab bag. It's a good spot. Tech savvy. Any Nats bats?
No. I think pretty clearly one of the worst spots on the slate.
Dead last in top stacks for both me and the site. So I got nothing else here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Let's get it up over 100 if we can. And now we got to talk a little bit about the sponsor of this show. That is Sleeper. And I don't want to bury the lead at all. Two things that need to be talked about right away. One, when you click the link for Sleeper and you go and sign up, you'll get up to $100 on your first deposit. Right away, you should be doing that. 100 in, extra 100, $200 bankroll, boom. Second of all, we got a bit of a free square. It's not a total free square for today. There are scenarios where this could go wrong, but think of this like a taco potentially, but an extreme one. The line is set for Garrett Cole's outs at 6.5. Could he go under that? Yeah. It can go poorly. Maybe you take the over for Garrett Cole here, and then you take some stacks of the Mets side, because if you don't win that one, then the Mets stack probably looking pretty good. But you should be able to get an over on Garrett Cole. That's 65% off. That's what they're marking, because it's a little bit of a different setup than some of the other pick'em sites, because it's not just an even line on both sides. There are dynamic payouts. There are multipliers on each side. So you can take a major underdog type side of a pick'em and move forward with it. Very different mechanism than what we see at some of the other sites. You can win up to 100x payouts. That is the highest anywhere in this type of market. This is a no doubt about it play for me today. Not necessarily just taking the over for Cole, but getting that deposit in putting in the 100, getting the other 100, and taking advantage of Cole at the same time, you're putting yourself in a really nice situation to profit at Sleeper moving forward. And you don't have to just stop here. Well, if you want to get in these pick'em contests, that's great. They run season-long fantasy leagues at Sleeper. I believe they have best ball too. Am I correct there, Adam?
I was not listening to you.
Does Sleeper have best ball?
I don't know.
Okay. I thought they did. I remembered hearing you say something about best ball for that. I was going to say, if they do, by all means, people continue to go there. But from a pick'em site perspective, you're going to have a hard time finding a better situation, especially with this deal right now. So please go sign up at Sleeper. Link in the description. Take advantage right now. Royals and Reds. Daniel Lynch on the hill for the Royals. Ben Lively going for Cincinnati. It's like a 4.6, 4.7 run implied total to both guys. It's basically a coin flip matchup. Neither one of these guys getting any ownership. Are you going to the pitchers?
Probably not. I do think if you don't mind some risk, there is a case to be made for taking a shot on Lively. He's a very difficult guy to project because he spent the last few years in the KBO. So we don't know really what we're getting from him. He likely isn't very good. He's not projected by like any system to be very good, but he has been good so far. He's struck out 27% of hitters, 3.98 xFIP. He's facing a weak Kansas City offense that is also now without Vinny Pasquantino for the rest of the season. Maybe I can finally stop rostering them, but
me too.
You know, at 6,800 and no ownership against KC in Kauffman, like there is just volatility here. You know, 4.7 to 4.8 implied run total for the Royals, but this is essentially all based on the assumption that Lively isn't good, and he probably isn't. But it wouldn't be the first guy where, you know, a month, you know, 2 months in, 3 months in, you're like, oh shit, this guy never actually got bad. Like maybe he's actually good. You know, you kind of saw like a similar thing when Merrill Kelly came over, and he's just improved the whole time he's been here. I don't remember like what his expectations were compared to Lively when he came back. But, you know, the expectation I don't think was that Kelly was going to be as good as he is now. So there is still that like uncertainty that makes him somewhat interesting at no ownership. But again, I probably won't get to much of him. Lynch on the other side, not awful, not very good. Not somebody I expect to really get to today. It is like 85 degrees in KC as well.
I have 14 5-mans of the Royals, so I apparently imported your model into my computer.
Yeah, but you have 40% Daniel Lynch too.
I don't have Daniel Lynch. That I'm okay with. I don't have the pitchers. I have a little bit of the Royals. I'm basically neutral to the field. I don't really have anything on the Reds side. We have the Reds third in top stack. That feels a bit high. I have them 14th, which feels a bit more correct. Do you like the Cincinnati side here?
I like the Cincinnati side. It is one where, like, even when I was trying to write my article earlier today, I think they look good. I had a hard time like articulating why they are top 3 or top 4.
I don't think you can,
but I do think they look good. Like Lynch isn't a total gas can, but he's not anything special. Since the start of last year, 175 expected ISO to righties, 143 to lefties. You do have young talent on the Reds. You know, McLean's a good shortstop option. India's a solid second base option. We know De La Cruz is a monster. Steer's got power. Stevenson's got power. Newman is leading off and cheap. They look good. They feel more like, I don't know, 6th, 7th, 8th to me, I think.
Yeah, like when I look at this, the Red Sox, the Rays, and the Dodgers almost by default have to be ahead of the Reds in top stack percentage for me today.
Just because their implied run total is half a run higher.
And they're those teams and not
right.
the Cincinnati Reds. Like I don't like I can't see it any other way.
Yeah, they strike me more as a team where not that they're super cheap, because they aren't. Most of the guys you'd want to get to are in the 4K range, but they strike me more like a team like Kansas City, where they should be like middle of the pack, or, you know, maybe top 3rd, but like at the bottom end of the top 3rd in top stack percentage, but then get a nice bump when you factor in the value component. It's harder for me to explain why they're like at the top or near the top in actual top stack percentage.
Yeah, the stack scores I get, because the value play on the Royals, I have them second. I think the Reds are a pretty good value as well. Not as good as the Royal side. Like that I get. Top stack seems wild to me.
KC seems, like since he seems like they should be basically in the same spot as KC. Like
Yeah.
KC is third in stack score, like you said, 9% chance of being the top value stack, 4.5% chance of being the actual top stack, just kind of average, but really, really good value, and that drives them up.
Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate you. It got ignored. If this were an NBA show, somebody would have got it. There's not enough volume in the chat right now. I was really proud of myself.
I didn't see it.
Rank the game.
Cincy, KC, Lively, Lynch.
And JR had said he wanted to find the right angle when it came to betting on the MLB. And I said it was an obtuse question, but it went over there. Not like I would expect anybody in chat to understand shapes and angles. I think that's good.
Deserves to be ignored.
It's a great joke. Diamondbacks and Phillies, 4.4 run implied total for the D-backs, 4.1 for the Phils. Merrill Kelly going for Arizona, who's already been talked about. Ranger Suarez going for the Phils. 7% ownership to Kelly at 9,600, 2% to Suarez at 5,600. I probably don't want to get to either one of these guys, but I feel like I'd rather go to Suarez.
So this is a really weird game where I think both pitchers are somewhat interesting. Merrill Kelly is a good pitcher. His strikeout percentage has jumped like 4 points this year up to like 26%, 3.69 xFIP. The problem is just that, one, it's a relatively difficult matchup against the Phillies. And then two, he is priced in the same range as some real, like legit DFS pitchers. Castillo is $200 more. Glasnow is $200 less. You only have to find $700 to get from Kelly to Valdez. $1,200 gets you Kershaw. It's really, really tough to get in. You're basically paying the full like ceiling factored in salary for Merrill Kelly. And then you're just paying like 40th percentile prices on Castillo and Glasnow and these other guys. So it makes it really, really tough. Suarez on the other side is not a $5,600 pitcher. Like this guy, he's not a great strikeout pitcher or a great DFS pitcher. 19.5% strikeout percentage last year, about 21% this year. But sub 4 xFIP last year, sub 4 xFIP so far this year, and he's priced like he belongs in the minor leagues. He's clearly underpriced, but it's not a great matchup. And we've said it before, like you're just not going to have to pay down that often on this slate because you have enough good cheap bats. You have some good, 9K to 10K or 9K to 11K pitching. One thing that is working in Suarez's favor, though, in addition to the price tag, no Corbin Carroll and no Ketel Marte today for the Diamondbacks.
I don't want to talk about it, man. Everybody that I picked in my prize picks card is getting scratched today. Devers out, Corbin Carroll out.
Start over.
Yeah, I'm running out of people here. We have Merrill Kelly fourth in projection today, ahead of Glasnow, Cole, Verlander, and Heaney. No words are necessary.
What'd you say?
No words are necessary.
Yeah, I mean, Glasnow I think is insane.
Yeah, same. You'll probably tell me that I'm insane too, but I've got Glasnow by 9.
Okay, I mean, that also is insane.
So there's also that. But yeah.
I get why Cole is low. I mean, the matchup sucks. But like Kelly's matchup isn't good either.
No. It's wild. That's a big Merrill Kelly fans around here.
I mean,
he's good. I don't think that's.
I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue at all with Kelly's projection. I have an issue with Glasnow being as low as he is.
Yeah, same. And Cole.
And I mean, I guess you're making the case that like Kelly could give you an extra inning and a half, but
yeah, I think it could be the problem for me that I just don't have Kelly going deep enough into this game. But I prefer the Suarez side if I had to get to one of them. I don't see a scenario where I'm getting to either.
Yeah, I think I get to the Suarez side first because just thinking about how you would get there, it's, okay, I'm jamming in a bunch of expensive bats that I like. I'm playing, Kershaw or Valdez or something, and then I just have Suarez. It's more difficult to get to the how do I land on Merrill Kelly piece because unless it is just purely trying to save ownership, any lineup where I'm landing in that price range, I'm going to Glasnow, I'm going to Castillo, I'm going to these guys that are just different levels.
No bats in this one, right?
I don't really think so, especially because we got the watered down Arizona lineup also. It's going to be tough to get there. I mean, it did make them cheaper. You have Perdomo leading off at 3,800. You have Rivera, I think, second at 3,400. Most expensive hitter on DraftKings is Gurriel at 4,500, but probably not.
Rank the game.
I think it's Suarez, Kelly, Diamondbacks, Phillies, including salary.
I agree. Mariners and Marlins, 4-run implied total for the Mariners, 2.9 for the Marlins. Luis Castillo and Yuri Perez going in this one. 33% ownership coming into Castillo at 9,800. 1% ownership coming into Perez at 9K. I don't really see the path to getting to Perez, but I certainly agree with the ownership to a degree that's coming into Castillo.
Yeah, so do I. Just incredibly good pitcher, great park, good matchup. 30% K percentage this year, only walking 5.5% of hitters, 3.25 xFIP. The Marlins are one of the worst offenses in terms of production against right-handed pitching, tied for fourth worst with the White Sox, the Guardians, the current active roster of the Yankees, actually the current active roster of the Astros. They don't strike out a lot, but again, that's partially influenced by their leadoff hitter striking out literally 5% of the time this year. That's obviously going to pull the average down. And you would prefer, that you could strike Arias out, although Kirby did get a strikeout to start the game yesterday. But you still have other strikeouts you can pick up elsewhere in the order. Absolutely love Castillo. And Perez, if he were 7,500, I'd be really interested. The problem with Perez is we just haven't seen Miami allow him to go more than 5 innings yet. I'm not convinced that's happening anytime soon. There's no real incentive for it. So he's really talented, probably in the majors a little bit earlier than he's ready, but still really talented. It's just that, you're paying $9,000 for him.
I can't imagine you want the Marlins bats.
I do not want the Marlins bats.
Do you want the Mariners bats, who are 19th in top stack, 16th in top value, 16th in ownership? I mean, if they're that unowned, I have a little tiny bit of interest as just a team with power that's not getting any ownership, but Perez is good.
Yeah. They're one of those teams where, if I see that I have, Rodriguez, France, Kelnick, Raleigh showing up in a lineup, cool. I'm going to get low owned, high upside guys. But if that doesn't happen, I'm fine with that too. There's upside there, but it is a talented young pitcher. It's one of the worst hitter sparks in baseball. They're just they're on the same page as, other teams. I think they're similar to the Diamondbacks and the Phillies, where if I get an unowned Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto mini stack, cool, but probably won't.
Easy way to rank this game, right?
Castillo and move on. Castillo, Mariners, Perez, Marlins.
Yeah. All right, so hit the like button. That's important. Now we're at the point in time where I told you I was going to talk about PGA a little bit later. This was the spot where I was going to talk to you guys about the MLB Sim tool, which we dropped 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whenever that was. Amazing. Changing the game up on the DFS side. This is unlike anything else that exists in the market right now. It is, I don't know, sort of like the best. It's the best thing that we've ever done at the site. I think there's not even anything close to that. We have built a new tool that is allowing you to simulate over and over and over again this current slate. You're putting in a chunk of lineups. We're providing expected ROI for each individual player, for each individual lineup. We're giving you the best package of lineups that you can get to coming out of the Sim tool. This is a $180 a month tool. We're talking about a high-level premium package. But you know what else you can do? Dropped today, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. You could check Twitter if you want. The PGA Sims tool has hit the market, folks. If you wanted to use it heading into the US Open tomorrow, that would probably be your best bet. It already exists for baseball. We've seen it for the NBA. You'll see it more coming in October once it truly drops. We're testing it on the back end, basically. The PGA tool is here for you guys right now, the day before a major. Make sure you're clicking the link in the description, or if we can get that dropped into chat. If you want to check out golf, if you want to check out the PGA Sims tool, you should do that right now. It's the perfect way to get yourself loaded up for a major if you've ever wanted to be on the PGA side. If you're playing a pretty sizable chunk of volume in PGA, you're going to want to at least give this a test run. You could upload up to 2,000 lineups into the tool, and then they're going to be simulated against each other like a PGA slate would be. And then it's going to spit out all of the results. You can just select your top 150 ROI lineups after that and immediately have a CSV ready to go. This is the big change in the DFS industry, folks, and we are out in front of it. Support us. Come join us. We're trying to make you a better DFS player at the top end. If you're already up there and you want new tools to push yourself even further, this is the way to do it. But I don't want to sleep on our lineup generator, whether that's MLB lineup generator or PGA lineup generator. I don't want to sleep on those tools. You guys should get them as well. If you're only a one lineup type person, this is where you want to be. Everything that we're doing is coming up aces at Stochastic. The Sims tool, no doubt about it. What do you think of PGA Sims? You checking out? Are you going to use it at all in any sort of prep for tomorrow?
Yeah.
I didn't know if we were going to get this out for the US Open, but like just starting to take a look through it, getting lineups together. Love what we're doing on the back end, man. It's changing the entire way that I start to process and prep for everything that I'm doing. And the fact that we got this out now, they'll touch on it quite a bit later on PGA Live before lock. Ben will walk you guys through it and hit you guys up with it because they want to get you ready for the US Open. One of the developers, per Jordan, Brian, is going to be on PGA Live before lock tonight to talk about it. So tune in, guys. 8 p.m. Eastern time on our Stochastic channel. All right, you ready to close this baseball slate out?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Padres and Guardians. Padres 4.6 run implied total. Guardians 3.6. Michael Wacha and Aaron Savale. Neither one of them pulling any ownership. This doesn't seem like a pitcher slate. Or pitcher game, sorry.
It doesn't seem like a game, period. Like, I'm more interested in the pitching than the hitting, I think.
Well, yeah. Well, oh, really?
I'm not really interested in any of it.
I mean, I'm not really interested in any of it either. I guess I agree with you in that, like, I would probably have nothing, but I'm certainly a little bit more interested in Padres bats than I am Michael Wacha or Savale.
I think I'm most interested in Wacha. 3.5 implied run total for Cleveland. One of the worst offenses against right-handed pitching. Really good pitcher's park. 60 degrees. Not getting ownership. I think he's a good pivot off of Verlander at 3% owned. Savali, I'm less inclined to get to against the Padres.
I don't have any. I actually have 9 5-man stacks of the Guardians, but in terms of like just general rank, I think the Padres are the slightly better option, at least just from an overall ceiling perspective, because there's just power up and down this lineup. I got them at an aggregate 194 ISO, which is insane. The whole lineup is power.
Yeah, Savali's a solid pitcher. I mean, 131 expected ISO to righties, 156 to lefties since the start of last year. It's not a spot I'm going out of my way to get to. I think it's kind of comparable to like the Diamondbacks, where you have like a 4.5 implied run total. They're just sort of there. The difference is that you certainly have more talented hitters on the Padres. You're also paying for them. The Diamondbacks, you have pretty cheap bats. But I view them kind of similarly where, maybe they show up a bit, but I don't like the park. I don't think Savali's bad. To me, I don't think I get to much of this game, but I would expect that I get to Wacha the most.
Garver, Stevenson, or another catcher in the DK $3,200 contest.
I mean, I assume I can't just start naming catchers I like more.
I mean, I would I had Garver heading into this show. I had Garver as my 9th ranked catcher.
Like, I think Stevenson's probably ahead of Garver.
Yeah, I had Stevenson way lower than Garver.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough one. Like, I'd prefer Adley Rutschman, but
so would I.
Different price tier.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, how much was Garver? Like 4,200.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to.
I mean, anywhere in and around there, it's Garver for me. But I'd be trying to find a little bit more money to go to Real Muto, Perez, Rutschman.
You could also go down the Kirk.
Yeah, I would be fine with that. Well, I mean, I have Connor Wong as the best option. I don't even know if he's still in the lineup at this point. But
he is. But yeah, I mean,
I have him as the most optimal catcher.
It's obviously a tough question to answer with no context to the rest of the lineup. But
yeah,
in terms of projection, we actually have Wong ahead of both of them. We have Stevenson slightly ahead of Garver.
Rank the pods game.
Waka, Padres, Savali, Guardians.
Two to go. A's and Rays. We are getting to my number one team now. 3.2 run implied total for the A's, 5.2 for the Rays. Luis Medina and Tyler Glasnow. Man, I love Oakland. They just can't stop winning. Oh, wait, no. I want all of the Tyler Glasnow and all of the Rays. Let's start with the Glasnow. 39% owned, 9,400. I am so far above us on Tyler Glasnow. It's crazy. Obvious. I have him as the highest projected pitcher today. I don't imagine that is truly commonplace for today, but the strikeout rates on these Oakland bats, some of these guys, it's insane how big of a strikeout matchup this is in a great park.
The only negative I see on what?
Sort of a great park.
Yeah, I mean, it would be better if you could, like, your 2-strike foul ball just went to the stands. Yeah. But the only negative I can see with Glasnow is that there's no incentive for Tampa to have a really long leash on him. We've seen like 83 to 88 pitches in all three of his starts. I assume you're seeing similar here. That can still get him 6 innings, but you're probably not going to get the extra push, to get the 7th inning. But he doesn't necessarily need that either. This is somebody that the last 2 seasons that he's been remotely healthy, 2021 and 2020, he struck out 36.2 and 38.2% of the hitters that he faced. This year, through his first 3 starts, he's at 31%. He's been dominant. He's always been dominant when he's healthy. He's just never healthy. But right now, we assume he's going to make it through his start. And the stuff's great. The matchup's great. Park is good for run prevention. He's not expensive. Like you're not paying for the strikeouts here. So the fact that he's probably not, probably capped at like 90 pitches or something isn't that big of a deal to me, because it's not like DraftKings said, hey, we're going to slap this price on Tyler Glasnow because he strikes out 1/3 of the hitters that he faces and he's facing the A's. They didn't give him that appropriate salary. So being 9,400 accounts for any sort of question mark you can come up with. I think he's the best pitching player on the slate.
So do I. I don't even think it's close. He's in 93% of my lineups right now, and we know that never fails.
Right.
But it's an incredible spot. Yeah, I am significantly higher than we are. By the amount of multiples would be insane. Yeah, give me all of the Glasnow. Every single bit of it. But I also want all of the Rays. This is my number one stack by a mile. I'm 2x the field. I've got 33 5-man stacks. I love the run total. Luis Medina is terrible, at least from a projection standpoint. Is this the best park for me to get to? No. Yet, we're still seeing that massive total for Tampa on the road in Oakland. Just go there. Please, just go there.
Right. That's the same point I made in my article today. There's 2 pretty big negatives when you're talking about Tampa Bay. 1, the game is in Oakland. Terrible park for hitting. 2, they're expensive. But they have a 5.4 to 5.5 implied run total in Oakland. That run total is derived knowing they are playing in Oakland. So, it's not like you're saying, oh, yeah, but they're in Oakland. If they were in like Fenway or something for some reason, it would be like 6.5. So, that's still fine. And then, the salaries, they're expensive. If you look at the top stacks tool and you sort by stack score, they're still 5th in stack score, despite having a 1% chance of being the top value stack. So, they look great. Medina has struggled at everything this year. 211 expected ISO to lefties, 18.5% strikeout percentage, 394 expected WOBA, 266 expected ISO to righties, 364 expected WOBA, 22% strikeout percentage. Tampa Bay is just going to look really, really good.
Yeah, I want across the board, just give me as much Rays as I can get to. Don't give me any Medina. Don't give me any of Oakland.
Same. I think it's Glasnow, Tampa, Oakland, Medina.
I think it's Glasnow, Tampa, and then you don't rank the rest of the game.
Yeah, but I would still put Oakland ahead of Medina.
And then we close it out. Dodgers and White Sox. Dodgers, 5-run implied total. White Sox, 3.2. Clayton Kershaw and Mike Clevinger. This is not the Mike Clevinger of old, 6K and not getting any ownership and shouldn't. Clayton Kershaw, 10,800, 33% owned. Do I like Kershaw here? Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent spot. Feels a tad over-owned here, though.
Yeah, just because he's the most expensive of the group other than Cole. But I do still he looks great. 22% chance of being a top two scoring pitcher, 30 and change strikeout, 30.3% strikeout percentage this year. Best xFIP on the slate other than Framber Valdez. Perfectly fine matchup with what's been a really disappointing White Sox team. 3.1 implied run total. So I'm with you where if some of that 30% just becomes more Glass now for me, more Valdez at 500 less, perfectly fine with any of that. But also Kershaw looks very good.
I mean, I'd be fine with it just becoming Cole for $200 more at 4-1 ownership there. That's just, I don't think that these guys 3.8 run implied total for the Mets, but it's not that big of a gap here between the Mets and the White Sox, other than the fact that the Mets are just a better team. But if it's going to be 4-1, I'll take my chances that you just get the good Cole day if I'm offsetting it there. But don't get me wrong, Kershaw obviously looks good.
Right. It's, again, Cole is the Merrill Kelly at that price range. If you were playing a game where for some reason you get bonus points for being contrarian, you would play a lot of Cole. Here, you're talking about one spot in your lineup. We have him projecting 3.5 to 4 points behind Kershaw. Is it in an individual lineup here and there completely fine to say I'm going to play Cole instead? Yeah, sure. Nothing wrong with it. He's probably a 2-1 dog instead of 4. But assuming that your lineup is contrarian somewhere else and you're just trying to get, the best plays, essentially, Kershaw's going to show up a lot more often.
We're not going to White Sox bats, right?
I am not, though.
What do you want to do with the Dodgers? 4th in top stack, 8th in ownership. Not exactly the cheapest team to get to in the world, but they are once you get past the top 3 dudes in the lineup.
Yeah, So Clevenger's been fine against righties this year. That's not to say you can't play Betts, Will Smith. Obviously, they are well above average righties. 22% K percentage, 131 expected ISO. The issues have really, really been with lefties. 15% K percentage, 248 expected ISO, 379 expected WOBA. Probably not going to have Max Muncy today. So the only real lefty is Freeman, but then you do get value with Jason Hayward, David Peralta, James Outman, assuming those guys are in the lineup, and then round out your stack, with Mookie or Smith or JD. So the Dodgers look pretty good. I don't know how much I'll get to. Don't love the park. Don't love that it's only 65 degrees in LA, but it does set up as a good spot for the lefties there. And then obviously you have a few good righties you can mix in also.
Is this LaMelo Ball haircut real?
I'm assuming, but the first I saw of it was Greg's tweet.
Why is LaMelo Ball getting his haircut like I did when I was in 5th grade? You got to part that bad boy down the middle now, brother. He looked. You don't watch Rick and Morty, but that's the simple Rick haircut.
I just immediately thought of shit. What's the movie? Dumb and Dumber.
Oh yeah, that works too. Yeah, that works. I mean, it's sort of the simple Jack haircut too. In my head movies. Rank the game.
Kershaw, Dodgers, White Sox, Clevenger, White Sox. I'll go Clevenger over the White Sox. Just, again, hitting's harder than pitching.
Favorite stacks for today?
Boston, Tampa, KC, and then from a value standpoint, KC. And then I'll throw in Baltimore as the team that's going to go off, and I'm not going to have it. It's going to piss me off.
Top pitchers.
Glasnow, Castillo, either Valdez or Kershaw.
None of those words were Verlander, but that would have been the right answer.
I mean, I'd rather just not have Verlander and only play the guys I mentioned. I don't think it's going to work out that way.
Well, there we go, folks. We are done here. Thanks to Sleeper for being the sponsor of the Deeper Dive. Go nowhere. MLB Live Before Lock coming up next. Thanks to Jordan for producing. Thanks to Adam for joining me. Good luck to everybody. Back again tomorrow, doing it all again. Make sure you're tuning in to PGA Live Before Lock. PGA Sims are live. Get the goods when you can. Bye.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's that time once again to induct all of you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Do the bragging for you, and of course, give out a whole lot of free Stochastic Plus Platinum subscriptions, a full month, $120 value. And all you got to do to get your name up here to get that free sub is, well, download the Stochastic Avatar at stochastic.com/avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more and tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF. Get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum and get inducted into the Hall of Fame. As always, let's dive into this one. First, we start with our boy, Peter Hanley. He's back in the mix. Not 100K, but I will take it. Peter, this guy went on an insane run a little while back, but he's back. First out of 15,000, $20,000 in the Wednesday MLB squeeze. Nice to see you back here, Peter. And how about Albatross? I don't know how to change my avatar, though. That's okay. I like paying for stuff anyway. $130,000. Got to throw him up here, even without the avatar. Shouting out Stochastic Hall of Fame. We'll take that any day of the week. And Schaefer, my first serious attempt using the new Uber Stochastic tool, the MLB Sims tool / DFS God mode last night on both sites. Count me optimistically impressed. Can I have the honorary shout out? That's Stochastic HOA. Yeah, damn right, man. Second, $4,000 for Schaefer. Taking down the batter's eye, $5,000 or second place, and battery, $2,000 there. So a huge night for Schaefer using the new Sims tool, which has only been out for a week now. We're very happy to see the results, of course. I think 209 DFS is as well. Got a couple takedowns thanks to the crew and the new Sims tool coming in clutch. There we go. First and seconds across the board for 209 DFS. Let's see, did the tool do any more damage in its first week? Barry Watts does not qualify, do not care. Just please don't tell anybody about this new Sims tool. 5,000, 2,000, 750, and 150 for Barry. Congrats, dude. Even though it doesn't qualify, you know we're throwing it up here. And Travis Scott, I don't need a free month of Stochastic. I just love hearing my name shouted out when I ship tournaments. Shout out to the Sims tool. Damn, 4 in a row. First place in the chin music for Travis. Coming in hot this week. Mitchell Kipp, Stochastic tools for the win. I love this, man. We've been talking about Sleeper. They got the dynamic payout system, the dynamic pricing, where you can up to 100x on these payouts in these cards. He 51x'd and 14x'd in 2 of them. 10 for 500 and 10 in the 139. Figured we'd throw a little sleeper action up here for Mitchell, taking advantage of that sweet dynamic pricing payouts they have. And JJ, UFC 60K Mini Max at Stochastic HOF, $2,000 right there for JJ. And Maui, it ain't much, but it's honest work. Thanks. It's pretty nice though, man. 12K Beanball, MLB, $500 second place for Maui. And I know it's a lower entry contest, so that's a massive ROI. Ryan Slaughterback, shout out to Greg Ehrenberg and the whole Stochastic crew. Turned 6 in the 4,000. Chopped first, but hopefully still worthy of the Hall of Fame. Ready to rip some more lineups for the U.S. Open this week. LFG, first out of 7, the 800, 4,000 for Ryan. And Millstone just won 150 from a 5-cent game using the Stochastic MLB tools. They paid for themselves already. You love to see it. Username is L Moeller and Millstone 79. Congrats, dude. That's awesome. 5 cents in the 150. And the Professor, man, a few words at Stochastic HOF. Look at that. First place out of 52,000 in the shot, 100K. It's a chop, right? But still, not bad. Just a big night across the board. $13 into 1,156. Got a few more here. Brody, after a ton of close calls. Here's another one. At least this one is close enough to qualify for the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Thanks to the boys for teaching me the ways. Third place, 750 in the 30K Mini Max. And our boy Stay Odd, putting a little something neat together here. Branding it, but also has the Stochastic avatar. $870 in the 15K pull-up jumper. And then we finish it out with Mr. Nasty Time Gaming. What does that mean? Got me a little takedown last night. Thanks for the excellent info you guys put out. 1K first place in the MLB 10K single entry chin music. Remember, all you got to do to get involved, download the avatar, stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF and win a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. $120 value.
What is going on, everybody? I was gone for a few days. I had a colonoscopy, had some stuff put up my rear end, and I'm back. I'm ready to talk about baseball, and pretty excited about it. Today's been a considerably better day than yesterday was for me, but it's good. I've got my friend Neil here. We're going to be breaking down some MLB DFS. If you guys could be so kind as you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to Sleeper, who is sponsoring our show today. We're going to be talking more about them in a second, but first, Neil, want to be asking you, how were your last few days? How did your weekend go?
Yeah, it was okay. I had Eric on the show with me the past couple of days. That was fun. We're thinking about unionizing so we can stop being bullied by Greg. We were talking about that on the show a little bit yesterday, but yeah, in general, it's been a good few days, but happy to have you back.
I will not stand for any sort of unionizing. Everybody will. So the other thing too is like, I mean, you guys are like, oh, Greg's giving it to us and all that. It's like, well, I had a bunch of stuff put up my asshole yesterday.
That is true. We got to take it easy on you after all that stuff that was in your butt.
Yeah, I felt like Cartman in the episode where he gets probed.
Yeah.
But we got a question here from Guitar Z-Man. Guitar Z-Man 247 wants to know, go into more detail. There's not really that much detail to go into. You get the colonoscopy, you do a day of prep, you take a bunch of laxatives, and yeah, it cleans you out. The next day you go in, you get some cameras put up you, they take some pictures, you sleep during the entire thing. And I have Crohn's and colitis. I have to get it done about once a year. We check on everything, and I think everything's pretty good.
Do they drug you? Do they put you under for like both the procedure and putting cameras up your butt? I assume they must put you under.
It's the same. So the cameras up the butt is the procedure.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And they do. Yeah, they do. So actually the worst experience I've ever had related to a colonoscopy had nothing to do with the stuff going up the butt or anything. It was, they missed the vein when they went to do the anesthetic. Ooh. And I didn't realize it. I was just like, my arm kind of felt uncomfortable, didn't really think anything of it. And then when they went to go put me under, and, the doctor says like, all right, count to 3, and then we'll see you in, like 30 minutes or whatever. So I'm sitting there, I'm counting. I'm not feeling loopy at all, but my arm starts burning. And I look down and my arm was swollen up to the size of a balloon because there was just anesthesia getting pumped into my arm, and it was just not going into a vein. It was just going right into the muscle. So that's actually the worst experience I've had with a colonoscopy. Not the part that I think people would generally not want to get a colonoscopy for, but that to me was the anesthesia incident, the worst.
That sounds terrible. That sounds absolutely awful.
Yeah, I didn't have any feeling in my right arm for about like a month after that.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, it was very bizarre. In terms of the actual colonoscopy, it's fine. So honestly, I don't even know if I have to get him done once a year. I just request them from my doctor constantly. Every time I see him, I have his number, I text him, I call him, and then he's just like, all right, stop asking. We'll do the colonoscopy. I don't even need to be sedated. I'll be like, we could do it out back by the dumpster. And what do we need the cameras for? Right? Like, let's just, whatever goes up there. But
Horseman says, sounds like a fake doctor. No, I've actually talked to Greg's doctor, Dr. Sins. He's credible for sure.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the Sims, we could talk about those in a second as well, because we got the Sims for PGA now as well. But yeah, I mean, the colonoscopy, honestly, if anybody has never had one done, you should get it done just on occasion, particularly like not if you're young, but if you're maybe of like Eric's age, Emacs age, like those types of advanced age people, you should be getting a colonoscopy done every once in a while just to check and make sure that everything is going on okay. Yeah, we got the Sims tool that's launched for PGA. Of course, it has been up for MLB for a couple of weeks now. I've got some lineups built out for today already. Are you going to be playing around with the PGA sim tool as well, Neil?
Yeah, I imagine. I'm not very good at PGA DFS, or haven't had much success at it at the very least. So I do plan on changing up the way that I'm playing. I think the best way is just to start playing with these sims. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's changing up what I'm doing.
Yeah, so I very, very seldomly play PGA DFS. What I used to do and mess around with, which I kind of liked, is back in the day before I was banned from playing the small stake stuff on DraftKings, I would throw lineups into the mini max because I found that to be like a pretty fun way to watch golf and sweat it a little bit. And then what ended up happening is once I was no longer allowed to play in contests that are below, whatever it is, $3 on DraftKings. Yep. To me, it was like, I'm not playing 150 lineups in like the $25, the $20, whatever it may be each week just to get some golf action. So I kind of stopped playing golf. This is going to get me back into it. So yeah. I'm looking forward to running some sims for PGA after this. And then of course, added to what I'm typically doing for baseball. But have you messed around with it at all today or not quite yet?
I haven't messed around with it yet. I actually should double check that I actually have access because I might have to request it. That's good. Good reminder that I should probably check that out, but I haven't messed around with it yet. Haven't had time yet today. I just learned this morning that it was coming out today. Like that was a fun surprise. coming out with PGA Sims?
I've a little look behind the curtains. For a couple of days, I've known it's a possibility, but we weren't sure if we were going to get it done in time for the US Open. So to me, I was like, oh, this would be really cool if it was done. And I was really excited about it, but wasn't totally positive and didn't want to go out and tell our content team either and get people, hyped up and ready to produce content for something that wasn't going to be coming out. But yeah, it's here. And I mean, we went from like a week ago to our product team, like starting to work on it. All of a sudden, like, hey, we think we're going to have this done next week. It was like, oh, okay, I better get some some stuff in line.
I have to ask you something just because this reminded me in chat. So Matt Noah just said a lot of gay jokes in chat. Matt Noah says not there's anything wrong with that. Reminded me of Seinfeld. Are you a Seinfeld fan?
Yes, I think I've watched just about every episode of Seinfeld.
Okay, you haven't even watched every. Adam and I got canceled on the morning show for both saying that we really like Seinfeld, but then like saying like, yeah, the stand up at the beginning is not good, and people just were furious. There were a couple guys that were absolutely furious at us for not like falling in love with Seinfeld, everything about it. But I mean, I think we all like it, but people were not happy that we didn't call it a top 5 TV show of all time.
I don't know that I have a top 5 list, but in terms of like sitcoms, it's probably number 1 for me because I find most sitcoms to be just absolute dog shit. Like the stuff that people like to watch on CBS.
I like 30 Rock quite a bit. 30 Rock probably number 1 for me, sitcom.
Yeah, I like 30 Rock. Like that's create, but like you get the other piece of shit like Big Bang Theory and whatever the hell else there. If somebody tells me they like watching those shows, we can't be friends. And I'd have to probably ban anybody. There's very few things I ban people from the YouTube chat for. Saying that they like Big Bang Theory or any of those kinds of shows like Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, like you watch that kind of stuff. Sorry, getting excommunicated from the chat. That's
it's funny because that was the exact example that I used on the morning show, and Adam and I were talking about. I was like, that's a show that like the fact that people like it is not an indication that it's good. Look at Big Bang Theory, for example, something that people love, which I don't like. Anyway, I suppose we should talk baseball at some point. I'll stop trying to get you to talk TV.
We should also mention that our sponsor today is Sleeper, and a couple of reasons to sign up at Sleeper. Number 1, if you sign up using the link we have below, deposit bonus of up to $100. They have 100x payouts over at Sleeper, which you are not going to find anywhere else in the pick'em world. Something else also, a deal for you, a free square, if you will. Garrett Cole today, his over-under on Sleeper, 6.5 outs, Neil. Very, very low number. So you're getting a free square over at Sleeper to play, over 6.5 outs for Garrett Cole. In addition to that, you're getting the $100 bonus on your first deposit. You're getting the 100x payouts. Win some money. Like our guy, Mitchell, who actually tweeted at both you and I. Yeah. I guess this was a few days ago. He had a Sleeper card where he turned $10 into over $500 in one of his cards over here. He had Josh Jung, he had Mookie Betts, he had Manny Machado, and those were actually, he had all 3 of them to homer on that slate. And then he had another one in here, which was $10 into $139. It was a parlay of Brandon Dixon and Jack Sawinski. So if you guys haven't signed up over at Sleeper, go take advantage and use the link we have below for up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. Now, we talk about tonight's MLB slate, Neil, where if we look at the pitching, 3 pitchers are projected for a mass amount of ownership on DraftKings, like far more than the rest of the field. We have Tyler Glasnow pitching against the all of a sudden superpower Oakland A's. $9,400 Tyler Glasnow. We'll talk about FanDuel in a second, starting with DraftKings, though. Glasnow at $9,400, projected for 39% ownership. Luis Castillo at $9,800 against the Marlins, projected for 34.8% ownership. And then we've got Clayton Kershaw, the man who I think the way that guys like Zach Gallen and Spencer Strider are pitching as of late, Clayton Kershaw could find himself the betting favorite to win the National League MVP before too long. He's at the top of our top pitchers tool, projected for 32.2% ownership, our top overall projected pitcher on the slate. So, we've got these 3 pitchers projected for north of 30% ownership. Do you have a favorite amongst this pay-up group?
Of Kershaw, Castillo, and Glasnow, it would probably have to be. Actually, that's a really good question. I'm thinking about it a little bit. Maybe Castillo, I guess, against Miami. It's kind of close. Not all of them have negative leverage here. Obviously, Glasnow facing Oakland, but we do have Castillo with a 6% better chance of being a top 2 pitcher than Glasnow, and he's only $400 more expensive, and the ownership is similar. So I think that I lean Castillo of the 3 of them. How do you feel about it?
So to me, as I'm looking through the lineups I built, the exposure I got, it's actually less about who I like and more about who I don't like. So if I'm looking at the exposures I have right now, I have Luis Castillo in just over 30% of my lineups. I've got Clayton Kershaw in just over 30% of my lineups. So very, very even with the field on those two. But I am coming in far lighter on Tyler Glasnow, who I have in about 15% of lineups. So I'm looking at these guys kind of in terms of, Kershaw, Luis Castillo. I'm about even with the field on. I'm coming in a lot lighter on Tyler Glasnow, and it's hard to feel great about that, right? He's pitching in a favorable pitcher's park in Oakland. Also, the Oakland A's offense, last couple of weeks notwithstanding, have generally been terrible. The last couple of weeks, though, they've gotten to a lot of really chalky pitchers who have been good over the course of the season. But it's to me more to do with Glasnow being more owned than those other players, close to 40% owned. It's a lot of ownership, so I'm undercutting him a little bit here at 9,400. Actually, quite a bit when I have him in 15% of my lineups. So Tyler Glasnow is my least favorite of the three, and I hope the Oakland A's offense keeps it up and they keep getting some of the chalky pitchers because it is a little bit too much ownership on him for me.
Yep. I'm with you. This is actually, I don't know if you played the slate. You probably didn't play it yesterday at all, but it's kind of similar in that, we talk a lot about we're willing to eat the chalk at pitcher a lot more than we are among bats, and get different with your bats rather than pitcher because it's just more projectable. Generally, you see pros eat the chalk more at pitcher. Yesterday was a day that I made an exception to that rule because there were so many good pitchers at the top. It looked so flat among the top pitchers in terms of their top two pitcher odds, but then the ownership varied so much. Like some of them were getting 40% ownership while others are getting 10. So yesterday was actually a day where I was like, I think I kind of want to take a stand on pitchers. I'm debating whether that's the case for me again today. It's fairly flat at the top. We do have several good pitching options. Justin Verlander up to Clayton Kershaw, all between 11% and 22% chance of being a top two pitcher. And the ownership varies pretty widely among them. So I'm still kind of figuring out exactly how I want to attack the pitchers on this slate. I'm going to be using lineup generator. So that's going to, give me what it gives me until I adjust it at all. But yeah, it really is tough. But I think any of the 30% plus owned pitchers, there's a reason that they're 30+% owned. They all kind of make some sense to me.
So now the other part of this is if you're looking to pivot off of the really popular pitchers, what's your best way to do it? Do you want to pay up for a different pitcher? Like, do you want to go to a Framber Valdez, who's still popular, project for 21% ownership, but not nearly as popular as those other studs? Or would you rather go cheap at pitcher to be contrarian? So what is the way that in lineups where you are not going to be paying up for the three studs, what's a way that you're looking to differentiate a pitcher a little bit, if at all?
I think on this slate, I'm still more likely to just pivot to the other good pitchers. So we've got Garrett Cole at 8% ownership, Merrill Kelly 5% ownership. As you said, Framber Valdez against Washington getting 21% ownership looks good. So I think on this slate, I'm more likely to still be paying up rather than going to the uber cheap pitchers here. I mean, there are some that look a little bit interesting. Ben Lively, Garrett Whitlock, I think you can get to. But for the most part, I think that I'm still going to be just pivoting to other expensive pitchers here. How about you?
And then what is your favorite expensive pitcher to get to then? If it isn't one of these three, or I should say outside of these three, who is your favorite expensive pitcher to get to? I do have one here.
Outside of these three, I mean, Merrill Kelly stands out. It's a tough matchup with Philadelphia. I'm just in the top pitchers tool, 5% projected ownership, 13% chance of being a top two pitcher. Looks really good for Merrill Kelly. Debating if I actually want to say Merrill Kelly here. It's between Kelly and Framber Valdez, I think, for me, are the two that I'm the most interested in at the top. I guess I'll go to Merrill Kelly for the 5% ownership, but it's a little bit tight there. Who are you liking?
So I'm overweight to both Framber Valdez and Merrill Kelly. Overall, I do get more exposure to Framber Valdez, though, and it's twofold. Number one, he's really good. The other part, too, he's got a great matchup against the Washington Nationals. So if you look at Framber Valdez's numbers, one thing that I've kind of taken note of is it might seem on the surface like he's heading for regression because he has a 2.36 ERA, and then he has a 3.9 expected ERA, 2.94 FIP. But if you look at Valdez over the entire course of his career, he's always outperformed his peripheral stats. A big reason because he generates a ton of soft contact. So Framber Valdez, a lot of the times if you're just looking at these, numbers that are going to say, here's what a pitcher's ERA should be, it assumes a couple of things, like most notably that a pitcher's batting average on balls in play should be around 300, which is league average. But Valdez has had a batting average on balls in play under that 3 years in a row. So this year it's a little bit underneath that, but for his career, it's 285. So I would expect that to continue to be low. He's also a heavy ground ball pitcher. He induces a lot of double plays. So that's one of the reasons. Also, we see him on all the weak contact he generates. It's twofold. His batting average on balls in play is better than what it would typically be on average. And then same with his strand rate. And these are a couple of things that some of these advanced metrics just assume are going to regress to league average. But we have a large sample size on Valdez now pitching better than league average in these categories. And something else that's really interesting about him this year, his average fastball velocity, I don't know that I've really seen an increase like this over a 3-year span. Listen to this, Neil. 2021, Framber Valdez average fastball velocity, 92.3 miles per hour. 2022, 94. This year up to 96. He's added 2 miles per hour onto his fastball in each of the last couple of seasons. And I think that's all the more reason to think that he's going to continue to induce all this soft contact. His swing and strike rate is up this year. He's generating more strikeouts, 26.5%. That's a career best. Like I said, I like the matchup against the Washington Nationals. And there's just a lot of stuff that looks good here about Framber Valdez. So if I'm going to one of the pay-up options that isn't one of the guys who's north of 30%, I land on Framber Valdez.
Yeah, and I don't hate that one bit. Again, it's very close to me between Framber Valdez and who else was I looking at here? Is Framber Valdez and Merrill Kelly. But it's obviously a better matchup for Framber Valdez. He's a little bit more expensive. So yeah, I think I think kind of maybe going a little bit underweight to the field on the pitchers that are getting 30+%, and then just kind of evening it out with like going a little bit over on Framber Valdez, Merrill Kelly, Justin Verlander, and going a little bit lower on the guys who are the chalk guys, I think makes sense on this slate.
All right, let's go to our guy, Ace of Spade. He is a super chat for us. I think you probably know what it is. And then we'll talk about some of the cheaper pitchers to look at, and also talk about FanDuel and some of the pay-up options there. But let's go and look at Ace of Spade. What do you think his super chat might be, Neil?
Could be anything, Greg. Maybe he's just wondering how your procedure went, but I have Josh's tiers pulled up here.
You would be correct. He wants to ask us about DK tiers. So if we go and we look at the DK tiers lineups here, we've got some interesting ways that we can make some stacks for tonight. So I'm curious to see where Josh is landing on everybody. Let's start with tier 1 though, Neil, where I am landing on Corey Seager the most of anybody, as I'm really starting to gravitate towards Ranger stacks in my tiers lineups. Who did Josh have in tier 1?
Josh had Marcus Semien.
Okay. So not all that, by the way, my second most rostered player there. It's funny because you got Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout in here, who are better fantasy producers than Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, but I like the stackability of the Rangers here. So I don't have an issue with Semien or Seager. They're my two most rostered in tier 1. I had Seager there, Josh had Semien. But either way, I think it's a good starting spot to build out some stocks, which is why in tier 2 for me, I like Adolis Garcia the most.
Josh actually goes to Rafael Devers. I don't see a lot of correlation in his picks today, which usually I do find some correlation here, but yeah, today it's Rafael Devers in tier 2.
All right. So Devers in tier 2 for Josh. Although Devers is Devers not in the lineup today?
Oh, I thought I did see somebody say that, actually. That's a good point. Usually chat will probably tell us. Yeah, Devers is out. Okay. So number 2 would be Bobby Witt.
Okay. Yeah, we've actually only got 2 options in tier 2 that are in the lineup: Adolis Garcia and Bobby Witt.
Okay.
So I'm
yeah,
gonna
Josh
go with
has.
I'm going to go with Adolis Garcia just for the correlation of the other spots that we're getting to here.
Sure.
Tier 3. What does Josh have in tier 3?
Brian Reynolds.
Okay. It is Bo Bichette for me in tier 3. Bo Bichette. Tier 4. What did Josh have there?
Kyle Tucker.
I have Alex Verdugo here. And there is a part of me who would say, like, hey, maybe go George Springer in tier 4 if we have Bichette in tier 3, but I did get to quite a bit of Verdugo there. So I'm going to go Verdugo as my answer in tier 4. Tier 5. What did Josh have there?
Alex Bregman.
So I got the most exposure to Bregman, but my answer is going to be Josh Jung, just to correlate with the other couple of spots. We've got Texas Rangers hitters in, but Bregman clearly a good option as well. And then in tier 6, I think you could also make a case for getting to Jose Altuve there. So if you want to go with a little Astro stack, I think you could go Bregman in tier 5. You could go Bregman tier 5, Altuve tier 6, and actually Kyle Tucker in tier 4. So actually now I'm thinking about it, you could go Rangers in tier 1 and tier 2, and then you could get Astros across tier 5, 6, and 4. But what did Josh have in tier 6?
Yeah, so actually looking through tier 4, 5, and 6, he does have Astros across the board. He has Jose Altuve in tier 6.
Yeah, I don't mind that. And then I believe, if we didn't have Jordan Alvarez hurt, he would have been a tier 1 play for this, but not an option. So anyway, Rangers and Astros, to me, I think that is probably the best way to go about building tiers lineups today. So Ace of Spade, thank you for the super chat. We do appreciate you. And let's get back to talking about some of the other pitching options that we have for the slate today. But also, I wanted to go and talk about the FanDuel slate a little bit as well. Make sure that that is not left untalked about for today. And if you look at some of the exposures projected over at FanDuel, Clayton Kershaw projected for 22% ownership, Luis Castillo at 16%, Tyler Glasnow at 18%. Those ownerships aside, if I had to pick one of these to play in cash games, I think I feel best about Tyler Glasnow on FanDuel. The matchup against the A's should be a good one, even if they've been good as of late. And you're just getting a salary savings on him. He's $1,000 less expensive than Clayton Kershaw. He's $700 less expensive than Luis Castillo. Overall, I think all of these guys are a little bit over-owned on FanDuel, and I would like to pivot to like a Framber Valdez who's only projected for single-digit ownership. But for cash game purposes, Neil, Glasnow, Castillo, or Clayton Kershaw, it's going to be a tough decision for a lot of people. If you had to pick one, which way would you go if somebody's building out one FanDuel cash lineup?
Yeah, it's a really tough one. I think I'm with you on Tyler Glasnow. He's only getting a little bit less ownership than Clayton Kershaw and Luis Castillo. Typically, like I'm more inclined to play the guys who are getting more ownership on FanDuel, but saving some salary there, easier matchup. I guess Oakland has been hot. I guess there's that risk, but no, I think I'm with you on Glasnow if I were playing cash.
All right, so we're going Glasnow there for cash game purposes. Also, want to ask you, because we do have some bad weather in the Colorado-Boston game. Is that something you're keeping your eye on? Is it a concern? Because I did like a couple of the cheap pitchers there that we're about to talk about. And I'm getting a little skittish about, by the way, I shouldn't say a couple of cheap pitchers. I do like Garrett Whitlock against the Colorado Rockies. Not quite as much liking the other side of the game from pitching purpose. I don't really like into Austin Gomber, but I do like, if we didn't have any weather concern, Garrett Whitlock is probably my favorite salary saving pitcher on the slate. But do you like Garrett Whitlock, one? And then two, what are you going to do with the weather situation?
I don't think that I'm factoring in the weather. It seems like it's going to be potentially a delay, but then they're going to start late. I'm more concerned like with pitchers if we're worried about like an in-game delay, because then oftentimes the pitcher won't come back out after the delay. Here, I don't think I'm factoring it in. Eric and I also talked about this, how you fashion yourself a weatherman, whereas I don't know how to read that kind of stuff. I said it on this morning show. I don't really know how weather works. So I just listen to what other people say. And I think in this case, it looks like a delay is the most likely rather than like a postponement or an in-game delay. So just a delay at the start. So I think I'm just going to play it as a go. How about you?
It's funny. We actually just got a super chat about it as we're walking through. Smoke Show said any concerns with weather in the Boston game. Also, he adds that Home Improvement was a great sitcom from back in the day. A little bit before my time, Home Improvement. Like, what years was that on?
That was very much in the prime of, I loved Home Improvement as a kid. And people often like to say that I am Al Borland, which I don't know if you saw, Greg, but there are rumors that he might be dating Taylor Swift.
Al Swift.
Yeah. I did the name, they're already doing like the name combos, it's like Al Borland and Taylor Swift. That's their like the couple's name, Al Swift.
I like to think that Taylor Swift has a brother named Al Swift, and that's just the relationship.
That would be funny.
So Home Improvement, what years was that on TV? Home Improvement first came on in 1991, and it ran how many years? Home Improvement, how many years on TV? Aren't they doing like some kind of remake or something that they did recently?
Of Home Improvement? I'm not aware.
So. Well, either way. So the show was on when the show first came on 1991. So I was 1 and then went to 1999 when I was 9. Like, that's not a show I would be watching. And it's not something that's like on TV and reruns. Like Seinfeld's always on TV.
True.
Like I wasn't watching Home Improvement when I was like 5 or anything.
Beandu says, I'm about to send Neil a chart of the rain cycle so we can understand how weather works. Yeah, you could try. I guess, to be honest, I've never tried to understand how weather works. I just listen to what other people tell me. So
it's a tricky one. I think this is a game with a lot of weather risk. So it's raining right now in Boston, according to at least the weather I'm looking at. And it looks like it's supposed to rain until around 9 p.m. their time. So about 2 hours into the game goes, And then it's clear for the rest of the night. So it's going to hinge on a couple of things. Number one, how long are they willing to wait? And then number two, is the field going to be in shitty condition afterwards? So I would say it depends on what your risk tolerance level is, because I do think this is a game that has fairly high risk of being postponed, right? Sure. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed to be, but I do think that it's something there's not zero risk. I can't tell you that I'm confident this game plays. Yep,
I'm with you. Yeah, we can't say for sure. Nice Kevin said, "You suck," and then I like this follow up. Man, who said it? Oh, Dope Heathen says, "Nice Kevin, you should change your name to Mean Kevin." Yeah, I agree. Why are you saying mean things, Nice Kevin?
Who is he saying?
I don't know.
Sucks?
I think he's saying that we suck. I think he didn't like my Al Swift joke. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Let's see. Where is it? No, he said the show sucked. Oh, so here's what happened. Somebody said the show sucks. Then he said, I don't think Nice Kevin was talking
okay. All right. He was defending the show.
Now, with that said, I don't think he's wrong if he was talking about us. I wouldn't call him inaccurate in any way.
Sure.
But just in general, he's saying that. He said, I think he liked, there was some show he liked that people in chat disliked.
Sure.
This is also very true, where Aggressive Goose saying the last time Greg gave us Boston weather, he betrayed us. Yes, I was very wrong the last time I was. There was a game where, what was this, 2 weeks ago? There was some iffy weather, and I was like, hey, I'm playing the Boston game. It doesn't look too bad. And then they ended up canceling it. And they ended up canceling it just as it stopped raining, which was also very tilting. But for today, I do think the weather outlook is risky. So it's something I'm going to factor in. I don't think it's worth fading the game outright. If you're playing one lineup, I wouldn't play the Red Sox. I wouldn't play the Red Sox Rockies game if you're only playing one lineup today. If you're playing a bunch of lineups, I would say that it's worth lowering your exposure too, depending on your risk tolerance.
Yeah, no, I think that is, I agree with you. There is definitely some riskier. I would factor in a little bit. Larry C says, "Don't piss off the Swifties to me." I'm a Swiftie myself, Larry. What are you talking about? How am I pissing off the Swifties?
Oh my God.
Huge fan. Talk about it with my niece.
Are you like one of those people who wears like a diaper to go to the thing so you don't have to? Have you
is that a real thing? No.
Yeah. So it's become popular amongst the people who are big Taylor Swift fans. Is they're so concerned they might miss a part of a song because apparently every single song that she plays is the greatest thing ever.
Okay.
But they wear diapers so that they could shit and piss themselves during the concert, and they don't have to risk going to the bathroom and missing part of one of her songs.
That is wild. No, I have not been to a Taylor. I've not had the privilege of going to a Taylor Swift show myself. I would imagine I'm probably never going to go to a Taylor Swift show, but I do kind of like the music.
Yeah, if it comes on the radio, it's different levels, right? If it comes on the radio, I'll bop my head a little bit. I'm not wearing a concert. I'm not wearing a diaper to a concert to shit myself though.
Yeah, I'm not either. I was very proud of myself. I knew about the song that she wrote about her grandma and introduced it to my niece who did not know about it. And she's a huge Swiftie fan. So that is my biggest Taylor Swift accomplishment, is introducing my niece to one of her songs.
So would you say that's your biggest accomplishment ever?
My biggest accomplishment ever. Exactly.
There we go. Let's talk about some more of the cheap pitchers, by the way. So Garrett Whitlock, if the weather happens to clear up there, I think he's the best cost-saving pitcher on the entire slate. But we do have to factor in some of the weather concerns. So let's say maybe somebody wants to be risk-adverse. They've got a lineup that has Garrett Whitlock in, and they're like, I don't want to mess around with the weather. I want to go cheap, but go somewhere else. If that's the case for you, who's the pitcher that you would get to who isn't Garrett Whitlock if you're looking to save salary at pitcher?
All right, hang on. Let me go back to the top pitchers tool and look at who's comparable in salary. So we have Garrett Whitlock at 6,700. It would be Ben Lively. If I've got that extra 100, I'd just pivot up to Ben Lively, coming in at 2% ownership. Actually has better odds of being a top 2 pitcher than Garrett Whitlock. Similar odds of being a top 2 value pitcher. I think that would probably be my direct pivot, is from Garrett Whitlock to Ben Lively if I have that extra 100 in savings. If I have to go down, probably redo my lineup. There's nobody I want to play who's cheaper than Garrett Whitlock, I don't think. How about you?
So not cheaper than Garrett Whitlock, but priced around him. I like getting to Reed Detmers a little bit. The matchup obviously is really scary against the Texas Rangers, but Reed Detmers is a pitcher who has upside himself. And we're not that far removed from Reed Detmers in recent starts being, uber popular. Now you put him in a tougher matchup. The price hasn't changed and everybody's off of him. But just if you look at cheap pitchers to get to, I think Reed Detmers at $7K on DraftKings is an SP2. He's going to give you some strikeout upside. We saw him have immensely better strikeout stuff last year after a trip to the minor leagues. He was pitching fairly decently at the major league level, but a lot of it was due to luck, wasn't generating swing and misses. And then after he had a couple of starts where he struggled, the Angels sent him back down to AAA. Like one start there where he struck out 14 guys, and then was just a good strikeout pitch for the rest of the year. And it's carried over to this year. Reed Detmers, 27.2% K rate this year. At that kind of price point, there's immense downside. Wouldn't consider him in any sort of cash scenario. But as far as cheapish pitchers go, I think he offers the most upside relative to his price. So Reed Detmers at 7K is a pitcher I like getting to on DraftKings. Is he showing up in any of your lineups, or are there any other punt plays you like at all outside of like Ben Lively or Garrett Whitlock?
Thank you for the reminder that I still have to do my lineups because I have not done them, so that I can't answer that question. But yeah, absolutely. Reed Detmers, I'm with you. He looks pretty good here. Looks pretty good in the top stacks tool. Top pitchers tool. A little bit of positive leverage there. If I also did find one name, if I were to pivot down from Garrett Whitlock, I guess Daniel Lynch looks good in the top pitchers tool. I'm not excited about playing Daniel Lynch, but he is, facing Cincinnati. Outside of Cincinnati is a bonus, getting 1% ownership, 14% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher. So that's another one. If you have to pivot down, I would probably go to Daniel Lynch. But yeah, I'd rather go up to Ben Lively. And yeah, I think Reed Detmers is a good call out there too.
And now if we're looking through the rest of the slate, I agree with you. There's nobody that I really like getting to as a crazy punt play, where like I'm not taking any chances on Luis Medina or Mike Clevinger. But are there any other super cheap pitchers you think are worth a shout out that have any sort of interest to you?
I guess Josiah Gray, but I hate the matchup with Houston. I think that he's at least got like some upside, but I don't think I'm going there. Maybe Ranger Suarez at 5,600 against Arizona is kind of interesting. I know they don't strike out a ton, but 18% chance of being a top 2 value pitcher, 3% projected ownership, 5% chance of being a top 2 overall pitcher. So maybe a little bit of interest in Ranger Suarez if you want to go uber cheap.
I don't mind him either, by the way. So Ranger Suarez, and maybe a little bias on my part, because the last time he pitched, he was like 0.5% owned, and I had like 35% exposure to him. And he crushed against the Dodgers. He was the pitcher who was popping up, like is by far the best play in the Sims tool for that slate. So I was like, all right, guess I'm rolling with a bunch of Ranger Suarez. And yeah, I want to say he was like $5,200 and scored, high teens fantasy points and really helped a bunch of my lineups that day and differentiated them. So if I'm going super cheap, he's only projected for 1.8% ownership. I don't mind getting to him at all. And like a super easy guy to get overweight to the field to as well at 1.8% projected ownership. So like him for sure. Anything else you want to bring up at pitcher? If not, we could move on here.
No, I think we've covered it pretty well.
All right. And in that case, Jordan, let's go and look at the lineup generator. We'll build out lineups for DraftKings. We'll build out lineups for FanDuel, and we'll see what it is that ends up standing out in this for us. Let me make this bigger so I can see it on my screen. By the way, guys, if you want access to our MLB lineup generator, got a great deal for you. Signing up for the first time, use the link below. Less than $5. I think this is the best package we have on the site for startup DFS players, either because you're new to MLB DFS or just new to DFS in general. This is going to be the easiest way to help build your bankroll from just a starting spot. You get in here, you click on whether it's DraftKings or FanDuel, whichever it is you're playing. You click on what kind of stack type you're making. It's going to build lineups for you, up to 20 of them. You could export them right into DraftKings or FanDuel. But let's start with DraftKings here. Build some DraftKings lineup, all stack types, Jordan. We'll go balanced lineups.
You know what I've been doing lately, Greg, is I've been doing all lineups, which I get you just going to balance as well. But just because I've been doing the videos every day, and I've been, a lot of it, it's like, okay, I'm getting way too much of this, this stack. If you do all lineups, you get to a more diverse set of stacks in general. And also somebody won $15,000 using the lineup generator, and he said he used all stacks. So that was maybe influenced me as well. But that's kind of the direction that I've been moving.
All right. So we've got lineups built out here, and oh boy, we're getting to a ton of Red Sox, which I wonder now, let me refresh. Has the ownership started to dip because of the weather? Is that something that's playing a factor here?
Good question.
Let me go to our top stacks page and refresh. So they were projected to be really popular, but I'm curious now, have they come down a little bit in ownership? So we had the Red Sox before were projected for about 16% ownership on DraftKings. They've come down to 13 now. due to, I assume it's people getting off of them because of the weather.
Yep.
I wonder, how popular do you think the Red Sox are going to be? Because we still have them projected to be the most popular team on the slate, but there are these weather concerns. How do you think this is good? Like, this is a really tricky situation to figure out ownership.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be pretty high. I mean, they've also been bad the past couple days in similar spots against these bad Rockies pitchers in Fenway. So I actually think that they will come in lower owned. Now that I'm thinking about it a little more, I suspect that they're going to come in because it's a 12-game slate. People are just going to say, I don't want to mess with the weather. My guess is that they come in actually lower owned than we have them.
That's what I'm thinking too, just because, I mean, that's like, to me, I'm scared shitless to play a ton of Boston Red Sox, right? Like, I think they're a good stack to get to.
Yeah.
If everything was just being fair with the weather, but you just don't know that necessarily for sure. By the way, I did just do the weather bot. I threw it into the YouTube chat, brought that back, which unfortunately had to disable from public use because it was getting abused a little bit last year, where people were really working. People were working the weather bot like my doctor was working my rear end yesterday, because we were just getting, it would be like 15 times a minute, people being like, weather New York, weather Boston, weather like
just checking their own
Abu
weather.
Dhabi. Yeah, just checking all over the world. And it was kind of taken away from YouTube chat a little bit.
Yeah.
But we do have the weather in here for Boston. It says rain showers, temperature of 71 degrees, wind blowing from the south, whatever. Who cares about that other stuff? Malakar wants the bot back. We can't do it.
Sorry,
we can't bring the bot back. You guys are not to be trusted. However, we do have EMAC in the chat thrown in the weather Boston. And then, of course, Bean Dude says that he wants the sex spots. The sex spots were very prominent in YouTube.
They were
chat
fun.
For a little bit.
They were fun for a while.
Yeah, they've luckily gone away, because that was definitely a pain in the ass for a bit.
Yeah.
But we're getting to a ton of Red Sox stacks here. In terms of pitchers, we're getting to Luis Castillo, Clayton Kershaw, Framber Valdez. Scroll down a little bit, Jordan. I want to see where we got to Tyler Glass now. Bean Dude said, I thought EMAC wasn't allowed to use technology. He can if he's able to figure it out. Yeah, we only got to Glass now in 14% of lineups. By the way, not all that dissimilar to my run where I had them in 15%. So makes sense to me. It appears, so we're primarily getting to Red Sox stacks, and then Reds the second most stack, it looks like.
I'm working my own lineup generator as you're doing that and trying to get rid of Red Sox from them, because I'm getting so much of the Red Sox, even when I go to contrarian lineups. And I don't know that I want to take on all of that risk.
It's tough. They're in a good spot. Just depends on what your risk tolerance is for today.
Yep.
Let's see what it looks like on FanDuel, Jordan. We'll build out some lines for FanDuel. Once again, guys, you guys want to get access to the MLB lineup generator, less than $5 when you sign up for the first time using that link below. Go contrarian for FanDuel. I want to see how much of Boston we get to if we go contrarian. A lot. They showed up in the first lineup.
Yep.
It's not possible to get away from these Red Sox in the lineup generator. Oh,
yes.
Blue Jays. Oh yeah, look at that. Justin Turner, Alex Verdugo, Connor Wong, Adam Duvall, Christian Arroyo, Rob Refschneider. So that is what, 6 of the 8 most popular hitters we got were from the Red Sox in this run.
Yep.
In terms of pitchers, we were getting to Clayton Kershaw. Here's where we differentiate a little bit. Some Ben Lively exposure. Keep going down a little. Framber Valdez showing up in contrarian lineups. Yeah, Valdez is somebody who I think it really makes sense to be overweight to the field to on FanDuel. Mentioned before, sub 10% ownership. I like him as a pivot off of some of the more popular pitchers like Clayton Kershaw, like Tyler Glass now. Tournaments, yeah, I like that pivot to Framber Valdez. Comparable upside, but you're getting him for a fraction of the ownership. Second most rostered stack. Are you noticing any? Oh, looks like Blue Jays, Dalton Varsho, Bo Bichette, George Springer. Anything else you're noticing in terms of these lineups, Neil?
Let me take a look. Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what I'm getting. Just a ton of Red Sox. What I've ended up doing, Greg, now is I'm going to contrarian lineups, and I'm doing only full stacks because I kept on getting like one Red Sox bat in there, which I guess I could go in and just like pivot off of that one play, but instead I'm going back and doing full either 5-3 or 4-4 stacks to try to get away from the Red Sox a little bit. But yeah, we're having the same issue where, you know, the Red Sox look great, but I don't think that I want to, you know, risk having them in all of my lineups.
All right, let's see what we have in the YouTube chat for questions. Nothing right now. It does look like Nariki was trying to troll me, he says, but it didn't work. What's the...
I forget what he said to you.
Oh, he wants to know why are they saying that the Boston game is a chance to postpone it? Because it does.
Yeah.
But, and by the way, to clarify, I'm not saying this game is like more likely to be canceled than played or anything like that. I just think there's a chance it gets canceled. It makes it a little risky.
Yeah. And part of it, like, it's also like it's easier to predict weather, like somewhat, without having also factor in what the grounds people want to do in Fenway. Like, even if, you know, it looks like it's going to clear up, sometimes they're going to cancel the game. So there's definitely a risk.
Yep. There is some risk involved here. Looking at what people are talking about in YouTube, Discord, nothing else there. Once again, if you guys have questions for us in Discord, at me, we can answer some of those. Also, let's go ahead and look at some of the projections that we have for pick'em sites over at stokastic.com. We are sponsored today by Sleeper, but let's also just help people out here and let them know some of the other things they could play potentially over at Prize Picks. So Jordan, click on Prize Picks there. And let's just see what's top projected at our board for Prize Picks over on baseball. Here we've got Billy McKinney for over 0.5 total bases. Oh, what has happened with Justin? I can't believe Justin Verlander's picking up as much ownership as he is today. People still going to Justin Verlander. Got Kyle Bradish under 4.5 strikeouts. Clayton Kershaw under 7.5 strikeouts. Anything that stands out to you from a Prize Picks perspective tonight, Neil?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if any of these are. So I actually did a sleeper card, which I posted in Chalkboard earlier.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if any of these are some of the prop sites. I think I actually used the over 0.5 total bases. The top one there, Billy McKinney. I think it was the same line on Sleeper. So I think I was able to use that line there. I think I also maybe went Kershaw under 7.5 strikeouts. That one, you know, looked pretty good. Looks pretty good here. We don't have to use the Cole line on Sleeper because you can use the 6.5 outs line, take the over there instead. Yeah, so there are some of them were the same lines on Sleeper and Prize Picks. So I use some of these in my Sleeper card.
Yeah, don't forget to take advantage of that free square. Over 6.5 outs for Garrett Cole over on Sleeper. So go take advantage of that. And then also, if you haven't signed up, use the link we have below for up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. One other thing too that I think you guys should be taking advantage of, if you're in a state like myself that is legalized sports betting, maybe you don't have access to Prize Picks, don't have access to Sleeper, go sign up at BetMGM. Because when you sign up at BetMGM using the link we have below, you are going to get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum to get access to our tools, projections, ownership projections, just by signing up over at BetMGM using the link we have below. You also are going to get your first bet insured up to $1,000. So lots of good offers there over at BetMGM, but most notably, sign up. You only have to make a $10 deposit, and you're going to get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. If you're anybody that you know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, about 10 minutes left to go here, Neil. So let's look at some of the top stacks, starting with the Boston Red Sox. They're projected to be the most popular team on the entire slate. What are you going to do with them when considering that they're in a great spot? We also do have them projected a little bit over-owned in the top stacks tool. And then we're also dealing with some of the weather concerns. How are you going to handle the Boston Red Sox?
Yeah, I'm struggling with exactly how to handle it. I've just gotten through, Greg, I found 13 lineups so far that don't have any Red Sox in them. I'm thinking I might allow Red Sox for my final 7 lineups, which I think if I do, I'm just going to end up with Red Sox stacks in all of those lineups well above the field. It's tough because they are in such a great spot here against the Rockies. If the ownership does come down and then the game does play, you're going to feel really good about having them. You're going to feel like an idiot if you didn't play them. Of course, the inverse could obviously happen as well. The Red Sox game could just get canceled and your lineups are dead. So I think I'm going to take a risk in probably about a quarter of my lineups, which is a lot for a game that could be canceled. But I'm only playing 20 lineups here. So, you know, it's not a huge monetary investment for me, but yeah, I think I'm going to be playing certainly above the field on the Red Sox. I think I'm going to take that risk, but I think that in general, I don't want to play Red Sox one-offs. I'd rather play a full either primary stack or secondary stack of the Red Sox, because I don't want to take the risk of like the game gets canceled. I just have, to take that risk for just one player in my lineup. I'd rather do it just full stacks or nothing.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're making Red Sox stack, obviously, I would also agree. Go make a 5-man stack of them. So it's a good spot for Boston. I am going to just even myself. I think it makes most sense to even yourself with the field on them, right? And that's the way it's like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen with the weather, but it's not going to kill me. If I'm doing about the same thing as the field is, the game plays, cool. I'm about even with the field, right around 13% projected ownership there. If the game gets hit, like I feel like it's a way where my other things will make or break my slate, and I won't let it be the Boston Red Sox. If I'm really uncertain about something with the weather, I'll just play them about even with the field.
Would you? So I feel the same way about. I don't think I'm going to go to the Red Sox Garrett Whitlock unless I have other Red Sox in my lineup as well. Would you go that far of like I'm not going to play the pitchers in this game unless I'm playing a stack also, or do you think you'd allow it for just the pitcher?
It's too big of a slate for something like that.
To not play Garrett Whitlock unless he's
to say like I'm only going to play Garrett Whitlock in Red Sox stacks.
I mean, what I'm ultimately saying is I'm probably not playing Garrett Whitlock because of the weather concern.
Okay.
And because there are, 23 other pitchers, or maybe there's one other game you can't play. So 22 other pitchers, but
if you're already making Red Sox stacks, I wouldn't take Garrett Whitlock out entirely because I do think he's a really good, but I mean, if you're not getting to him, you're not getting to him. The game is officially delayed, by the way.
Right.
So take that for what it's worth. We do have a question in Discord from Big Dream $. Big Dream says he's rifled through 100 lineups in the lineup generator. Not a single one had the Dodgers, despite them being a fourth highest stack with positive leverage. What do I think about that? Yeah, so one thing that's kind of interesting about the way the Sims tool is going to differentiate from the top stacks tool is, as opposed to this just being like which team has the best odds to be the highest scoring, we also are going to be considering when we're running lineups through the simulator what the pitching options we have are on the slate. And by and large part, the best pitching options are generally more expensive today. And it is really hard to fit those pitchers in with the Dodgers. So I know when I ran my lineups through, because I have it right here in front of me, I got to about 3.5% of the Dodgers. So it's not a team I'm getting to a ton of exposure to. It's a minimal amount. But one thing that I think, to Big Dream's point here, that's going to be different just looking at the top stacks tool at face value, is that it's not considering who the pitching options we have on the slate. And if this was a slate where there were no stud pitchers, I'd probably be more apt to get to the Dodgers. But just from a standpoint of I want to be able to pay up for some pitchers here, I can't really prioritize the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm also not prioritizing the Dodgers. I mean, it's a fair point. Like, but what do we have? The Dodgers with a 6% chance being the top stack. They do have some positive leverage. I mean, if you can't get to them, I wouldn't mind going out and hand building a few lineups that have the Dodgers in them. That might be something I consider doing. It is certainly a nice enough spot here, but yeah, you're going to have to go through, many lineups to get them. I'm sure they're in there somewhere, but it might take you some time to find some Dodgers lineups. So if that's the case, like they're all low enough owned that you don't have to like worry about balancing your Dodgers stacks as much as you would if they were a chalkier stack. So I just go out and probably hand build that if you can't find them in the tool.
Swanson79 wants to know my thoughts on a Cub stack in single entry on DK versus a new pitcher. I'll tell you why I like it. That's who I'm stacking in single entry today, is the Chicago Cubs. So the Cubs are the team that I'm stacking in single entry. I have no issue with getting to them whatsoever. So the only thing that I've been considering in my single entry lineup is if I want to have Garrett Whitlock in it or not, because Whitlock was in it initially. I'm leaving him in for now, but I might end up pivoting, still weighing on it. But the Cubs are my single entry stack today. I like them for this spot. Are the Cubs a team that you are getting to?
Let me take a look. So I just made my lineups in lineup generator. Yeah, I'm getting to a little bit of the Cubs. They're not like I'm getting to more of the Astros is the team that I'm getting to primarily. The Reds are up there as well. The Cubs are, I think I got a couple Cub stacks in here. I have 10% of Yan Gomes, Nico Horner, Seiya Suzuki. And then I have 5% Nick Madrigal, Christopher Morel. So I got to a little bit. Oh, and 5% Matt Mervis and Mike Toshman. So I got to a little bit of the Cubs in my 20 set here, but not like one of my highest exposed teams.
I think this Cubs team is just way under-owned today when I look at the numbers of this starting pitcher, Osvaldo Bito for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's 27 years old. He's an unranked prospect, and he has been absolute shit in the minor leagues this year. Why he got called up to the big leagues, I have no clue. He has a 4.55 ERA and a 4.64 FIP in the minor leagues this year. Last year in the minor leagues, 32 outings, 4.53 ERA, 5.49 FIP. The year before in AAA and AA, he had an 8.22 ERA in AAA, a 5.09 ERA in AA. Like I said, he's 27 years old. He's an unranked prospect. He has no real signs to improve. I just do not think this is a major league caliber player. Every single projection system has him as an ERA over 5 as his true talent level at the big leagues. There aren't that many people playing the Cubs by the looks of it, project for 4% ownership as a team. If this guy isn't getting outs in the minor leagues, I can't expect him to get outs in the major league. So I think this is a really favorable matchup for the Cubs. I like them a lot. My single entry stack for today.
Yeah, and I think it makes some sense. I'm happy to have at least a little bit of exposure to the Cubs, and they look pretty good in the top stacks tool. 3.8% projected ownership on the stack, 4.9% chance of being the top stack. We have a little bit of leverage there. I think Adam was making the point on the deeper dive. I only listened to a part of it, but I think he was saying that maybe there were some indications that maybe he's like getting a little bit better, but still bad, like based on his strikeout rate or something. He might have made an improvement somewhere along the line, but I don't remember exactly where he said it. Yeah, I'm happy to go to the Cubs here.
Yeah, I'm going to be playing the Cubs for sure. By the way, this guy Osvaldo Bido has 3 or less strikeouts in 3 out of his last 4 minor league starts. So
okay,
there haven't even been strikeouts there either. I think the guy just doesn't belong at the big league level. We did, by the way, I think you'll enjoy this. Somebody in here is telling us that Dansby Swanson is on the Braves, not the Cubs. You, sir, are incorrect, but you've taken some of Neil's information from heart because Neil had that mix up a little while ago. But yeah, Dansby Swanson is on the Cubs. He's not on the Braves.
Oh, is it Sportswiz saying it? Because he's definitely mocking me because he watches that show.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's totally mocking. Yeah.
Okay. I thought maybe he just thought it. Oh, well.
No.
Neither here nor there. Anyway, we've got some other stacks to talk about here as well. Is there any contrarian stack that you really like getting to tonight, Neil?
Yeah, the Chicago Cubs. They're facing a bad like minor league level pitcher. Let's see. Who else do I like though? So I do like your Cubs call. I think that is a good one. The Dodgers are actually contrarian. We talked about them a little bit already. I do like the Dodgers here. Texas looks pretty good. We have some positive leverage there against Reed Detmers. Not the easiest spot in the world, but they have some positive leverage. 4% ownership, 6% chance of being the top stack. They are expensive, apparently. 1% chance of being the top value stack. So not easy to get to, but I do have some interest in Texas. Maybe the Angels against Andrew Heaney. He's such a like boom bust type pitcher. I think that the Angels could hit up Andrew Heaney. We have negative leverage in the tools, but a little bit of interest there. I guess they're not particularly contrarian, but some interest there. Can always play. I mean, Baltimore again. They not positive leverage here, but Jose Barrios is another kind of boom bust pitcher, and Baltimore has been so good. Like they're so like can get double digit runs in a game, as well as just about any team in the league. So when they're facing Jose Barrios and getting low ownership, I have a little bit of interest in Baltimore at 4% projected ownership in the stack. Yeah, I'd say those are some of my favorites here. I'm trying to see if any other jump out at me. Who do you like among contrarian stacks?
Yeah, so I mentioned the Cubs as being one of my contrarian stacks I like to get to. Another one that I think we should talk about while it isn't contrarian, the Tampa Bay Rays have the best top stack odds for us in the top stacks tool. And I do wonder if their ownership is going to come in a little bit lower than expected just because they've been so shit the last couple of slates where, the Tampa Bay Rays have been relatively popular and they've laid duds against the Oakland A's. And I mean, the Oakland A's out of nowhere have kind of been playing decent as of late. Did you see the protest that they were doing yesterday?
I heard that the fans were protesting because they're trying to sell the team, right? Like they're going to move to Las Vegas.
So the owner necessarily wasn't looking to sell. He just wanted to move the team to Las Vegas. But apparently, like Las Vegas too, they see how the team's being run. So I'm not sure that Vegas is on board with like, hey, let's pay for a new stadium for this team that's investing no resources into an Oakland. So now the fans want the team to stay in Oakland. They just want the ownership to change. And it appears the fans, if there was a sale of the team, would be more willing to support it. But yeah, yesterday they had a sellout at Oakland, which never happens. And the fans were very loudly chanting, sell the team throughout the game to the point where you could hear it on the broadcast. And yeah, the A's are actually playing fairly decently. All that aside, though, The Tampa Bay Rays are the #1 overall top stack in our top stacks tool, and it is the team I'm getting the most exposure to for the purpose of large field tournaments. So I think that this is a team we should be talking about here in the Tampa Bay Rays. Is it a team that you are getting to as a team that has the #1 top stack odds?
Yeah, I think I got to a little bit of the Rays. Like they weren't one of my top 2 teams, but I got to 25% Isaac Paredes, 25% Wander Franco, 20% Randy Arozarena. So I do have a good amount of Tampa stacks that I got through the lineup generator. Makes sense. Lineup generator does like the Tampa stacks. They are the top stack on the board. So, or second, I guess. So yeah, I like the Rays quite a bit.
All right. So let's finish with this now, Neil. A home run pick. All right, we got about a minute to go here until lock. If you're picking one player to homer today, kind of like you had me do the other day when we were doing the strategy show. No, you said it couldn't be Coors Field. Easy enough because there's no Coors Field today. Who's going yard today, Neil? Who is the dong of the day?
Trying to remember what I went with on the morning show. It was not Kyle Schwarber. I went off the beaten path a little bit. I think I went down to, I don't remember who I picked. They might not be playing. So I'm going to go with Dalton Varsho.
All right.
Oh, it was Vlad that I picked earlier. Oh, no, I'm going with Vlad. He was my pick earlier. Sticking with him.
Because he's in my single entry lineup, and because I think he fits in with the theme of everything here, I'm going with Dansby Swanson. I think Dansby Swanson today makes his stand, makes everybody known that he is a member of the Chicago Cubs infield, and he hits a home run today. He carries my single entry lineup. He puts up some fantasy points. He hits a homer. Dong of the day, my pick is going to be Dansby Swanson. So that does it for us today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you've not done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck with all your lineups tonight. And check out later tonight, we're going to be covering our new PGA Sims tool on PGA Live Before Lock. Ben Raza is going to be there. We've got Brian Berriman from our product team. He's going to be jumping on Live Before Lock to talk about the PGA Sims tool. So if you guys are interested in the US Open and also the new product we have over at Stokast.com, watch PGA Live Before Lock later today. All that aside, guys, I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good night.